welcome to the Television GT World Texas, powered by Samsung Weekend, here in Austin, Texas. We've left Sonoma behind, and now we've made it to the Circuit of the Americas for the Lone Star 3-hour race for Pirelli GT4 America. It's a venue that takes a little bit here and a little bit there from some of the most famous circuits in the world, seamlessly blended together to create a truly international destination. Our favorite broadcast team of Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine are ready to tell you all about this place.
And thanks, Amanda. It was an action-packed start to the season up at Sonoma Raceway in California last month, but it's a totally different venue and a totally different race format here for the second weekend of the season for Pirelli GT4 America, the Lone Star Enduro, only endurance race on the calendar.
You know, I think this is one of the teams and drivers have circled in terms of importance for this championship season. 3-hour event, but there'll be 3 pit stops, driver changes. They're used to doing those, but they've got to put fuel in the car, change tires. So easy to get it wrong, but if you get it right, double points on hand here this weekend. That can be a big boost in the championship standings.
That's right, just the one race this weekend. So with the double points, that's both opportunity, but also a potential pitfall.
It is. So we've seen teams in the past. You have a bad one here, you're chasing it all the way down the line to Indianapolis for the finale, so you better get it right this weekend.
Some teams got it right, others not so much in the season opener in Sonoma. Let's take a look back on the first race weekend of the season for Pirelli GT4 America. The green flag waved on the 2026 season with Weston Workman starting on pole position for the Rafa Racing team. Just behind, though, on the opening lap, drama early as Sam Craven got into Alan Patton. Those two colliding and sent into the oncoming BMW of Alex Garcia. 2 cars eliminated in one fell swoop. Debris from a BMW door brought out a curious safety car that bunched the field up, but when the field went back to green flag, it was still Weston Workman out in front. Behind Workman and his Supra, positions changed further back in the pack, but it was at the end of the day Workman and Tyler Gonzalez for the Rafa Racing team scoring the silver class and overall victory. In Pro-Am, NOLA Sports' Matt Travis and Mateus Slates took the win, while in Am, Judson Holt and Denny Stripling got to spray the champagne for Random Vandals. It was a total reset for race 2 on Sunday. The grid got ready to do battle once again. The green flag waved with Kenton Cook leading the field from pole position in his BMW. Then the pit stop windows saw the BMW flash through ahead of the Rafa Racing Toyota Supra, with Sam Craven now at the controls. Sam took the overall lead out of the pits and held it for a good chunk of his stint. Further back, trouble for race 1 winner Matt Travis, spun around by Jonathan Parachon down at the chicane. He continued on, but much delayed. Then Workman found a way past Craven for the overall lead of the race, a lead he would not relinquish. Behind them, a big crash for newcomer Michael Petromalo. He hit the tire barriers in a big way. He was all right, but it brought an early end to the proceedings, with the checkered flag waving along with the yellow. Gonzalez and Workman swept the weekend in the silver class, while Craven and Cook took the Pro-Am honors, and Judson Holt and Denny Stripling won for the second consecutive day in the Am class. From a pair of sprint races in Northern California to the center of Texas and a Lone Star Enduro, the only of its kind on the calendar. Hello and welcome to Circuit of the Americas in Pirelli GT4 America. Ryan Marine, Calvin Fish with you once again, and it's Amanda Busick down on the grid. This is a whole different kind of challenge here, Calvin, with 3 hours of racing nonstop, with live pit stops, refueling, tire changes, all things foreign on a traditional weekend for the series.
Yeah, very much so. There's certainly teams up and down this paddock that do have experience with endurance racing, but for majority of them, they just get this opportunity once every year. So important to get it right. Double points on hand here for this single race, 3 hours in length, and going to get the conditions changing a little bit. Going to run up to kind of where a track is going to cool off. That's going to change the balance of the race car. Do you set the car up for the beginning stint, or do you kind of compromise a little bit, hoping that the track comes to you a little bit later in this 3-hour Enduro?
It's a good question. This race is scheduled to run until 8 o'clock local time, sunset tonight in Austin, 8:05, so into the twilight. here in Austin, Texas this evening. These are the conditions. It is still hot, even though relatively late in the day, close to 90 degrees, 114 degrees on the track. And there to tell us all about the conditions and a whole lot more, it's Amanda Busick.
Hey guys, I can confirm it is super hot down here. We're going to see 89 degrees probably here in Austin, Texas for this 3-hour endurance race. And to save themselves before we get this started, all the drivers have been up here in the shade, including this guy on pole, Weston Workman. And this is going to be the longest race of your young racing career. How have you prepared, Weston?
I've just been trying not to overthink it. I mean, honestly, it's a mental thing, right? You just said it's going to be the longest race of my career. I'm just trying not to think like that. Right, but I prepared myself well in the gym. We have heat rooms back in Mooresville at TPC. Toyota has done a great job of preparing me. CQ, Wayne, all the guys back at TPC. Thankful for all their help and support on the fitness side and the mental side. So just going out there and doing my job today is going to be the name of the game.
Good luck. I'll let you save your energy. I know you got to get in that Toyota. I'm going to move over to Kevin Bohm as Francis Selvdorf gets ready as well. And we've been talking about the heat. The guys were just talking in the booth about strategy here today and what you want out of setup in your car. Do you want this car coming alive early or late?
You know, we've always had really good luck with these BMWs to make them fast in the long run, especially in a race where it's 3 hours long. We got to make the tires last up to 50 minutes at a time. So we kind of prioritize that long run pace, and that's a big challenge. I mean, the temperatures, it's going to change a lot through the race. It's going to cool off from the beginning, and we're going to have to evolve with the track a little with the way that we're approaching things, even from the driving style, the tire pressures, those kinds of things. So it's a lot to come together to make this work.
Kevin, you know what success looks like in this championship. I just walked from Weston Workman. Are they your biggest competitor this season?
I think so. I mean, they're based on the results from Sonoma, they're going to be tough to beat. But I think we got a really fast BMW. Auto Technic's done a great job setting this thing up. So we're going to try to put Impact 60 on the point of this field and see if we can stay there to the end.
Good luck here today, Kevin. We'll see who else we can find down here. I do have a special guest coming up for you guys we're going to talk to. We might have someone saying some famous words here in a second, but I want to get down on this grid. I was talking to Mark Miller just about how hot it's going to be. And Mark, I know you wanted to kind of chat about that as well. What is the secret of maintaining the conditions?
As far as body temperature, man, the AMG has been fantastic. We have nice cool air that flows through. The faster you go, the more breeze you get. So we try to go as fast as possible just for that. Hydration is huge. We have a water bottle that we change out. And then some guys are wearing a cool shirt. I don't use them, but typically we've got a helmet blower that works fantastic. But it's so important on days like today when you're not just in the car for 45 minutes, but then have to get back in for 45 minutes. That recovery time is really, really important to be at your best for the last stint.
Good luck here today. There is a camera over there. SRO Motorsports doing a documentary out here this season with us. And guys, now I have quite a reveal for you as we head up to the front of the grid. We also have a 3-hour race tomorrow in GT World Challenge America where this guy's brother will be competing. Marcus Ericsson here with us here this weekend. How are you taking in the event so far?
It's fantastic. It's a lot of fans already today, and it's going to be a great race, I think, here as well.
We were talking to Hampus and just him coming into the series. You guys have raced together before. What do you know about his driving style?
He's pretty aggressive and a lot of skill. Obviously, GT3 racing is new for him this year, so there's a lot to learn, but he's with a great team in Random Vandals. He's got a great teammate in Derek DeBoer, so far it's been super good. Sonoma was a good first weekend, and today in practice they were really strong as well, so I think they're in for a really strong weekend.
What insight were you able to give him about COTA?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here quite a few times in F1 and IndyCar, so I had a couple of tips for him, a couple of lines through the S's there, how to maybe improve a little bit. But like I said, he's so fast and so talented, so he's got it figured out pretty well.
Well, as we said, that will be the 3-hour race here tomorrow on Sunday for GT World Challenge America. There's a big race at the end of the year, the Indy 8-hour. Might we see you in it?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, I know a guy that runs a team, and I know another driver that needs a driver. So, yeah, let's see what happens. That would be fun.
All right, we're plugging that one as we go along this season. And now we have a really cool moment for Marcus Ericsson, who's the Indy 500 winner, who has never done this before. But there are some words that I think you like to hear on a Sunday. What are they?
Drivers, start your engines!
Awesome stuff from Marcus Ericsson, four-time starter here in Formula One, made an IndyCar start here as well, and we'll see him supporting his brother Hampus Ericsson in GT World Challenge tomorrow. Might join us for a little while in the broadcast, and he's just being a race fan right now with 3 hours of GT4 racing coming up in a few moments, Cal.
Yeah, certainly exciting and action-packed weekend. We've got a 3-hour Enduro here tonight, another one tomorrow, which is now the normal format for GT World Challenge America. So lots of newness up and down the calendar for the weekend, but certainly excitement too. Conditions have been perfect. A little toasty, you expect that here in Texas when you get to the month of April, but nonetheless challenges for the drivers in terms of managing those 50-minute maximum driver stints. When do you take that first stop? About minute 30, I'd say, is about the earliest you can come and get it done on 3 stops to get it to the finish. We'll see who's on the aggressive side of that strategy call.
We've seen teams struggle with the strategy element of this race in the past. That's cost them a big result. It's cost them championship opportunities at times. You have to execute here this weekend. Here are the pole sitters in the respective classes. Weston Workman, Alan Patton, James Walker Jr. in silver, Pro-Am and Am respectively. 28 cars set to take the start, and this grid was set in unconventional circumstances. There was a red flag in the qualifying session, so they reverted to practice 2 times, and that's the way that they will line up here today, with Weston Workman on the overall pole, Francis Seldorf alongside for Auto Technic, Supra and BMW on the front row. Then it's Alan Patton, Pro-Am pole sitter for Dome Motorsport, and Nat Travis for Nola Sport in the Porsche. To the 3rd row, RS1 and Luca Mars will start 5th. Timmy Gibre for ACI Motorsports alongside. Am pole sitter James Walker Jr. He's had success in this race in the past. He'll start in the inside of row 4 next to Michael Garcia. Back to the 5th row, Sam Craven for Random Vandals, and Tony Gaples, the veteran from Black Dog Racing. To the 6th row, and Bruno Colombo, he's never raced here at COTA before, and Lonnie Unser from the famed Unser family will start alongside for Kelly Moss. Then it's Chris Wilson for Colorado Motorsports by Flying Lizard, Jonathan Parashon, the impressive rookie, alongside. 8th row, Michael Petromalo for Vinner World and Precision Racing LA's Carl Foreman. In the 9th row, that's where you'll find ACI's Demir Hott. He'll start 17th, next to Zachary Lee. In the Mustang for McCumbee McAleer, Zafar Gaffarov for ACI starts 19th. Tom Kopczynski will start in the 20th spot. To row number 11, that's where you'll find Roland Crines of Auto Technic Racing and Sean Gibbons in the McLaren from OGH. 12th row to Judson Holt in Random Vandals Racing. They've been the benchmark team in the M class so far this year. Ed Killeen will join him in the 24th starting position. Then it's Tyler Stone in the Mustang for Tech Sport. He's got Frankie Muniz as his teammate this year. Rafa Martinez making his season debut alongside Chris Spada for the Rafa team in 27th. Riley Dickinson will start at the back of this field, the car that brought out the red flag in that qualifying session. Jack Perriott was supposed to be in that seat. He was not able to start this race. They will start at the back, but it will be Riley Dickinson and Erica Hoffman in a silver class entry. We'll see what kind of progress they can make from the back of the pack. Great mix of cars, great mix of drivers, and now, for the only time this season, a 3-hour endurance test in Pirelli GT4 America.
Yeah, as you said, a little bit of a jumbled grid, but the 2 championship leaders, 1st and 2nd, sit there on the front row. Francis Seldorf on the outside for Auto Technique. Weston Workman there on the inside from the pole. His teammate won here last year with that very race car.
3 hours on the clock. It'll start to tick down in just a couple of moments. Then we'll get the green flag at the start line, which is different than the finish line here at Circuit of the Americas. 14 rows of 2, 28 cars in total. Coming to the green flag, there it is. The 3-hour Lone Star Enduro is on at Circuit of the Americas, and it's a great getaway from Workman. He's leading the field into turn number 1. Seldorf able to fend off the challenge from Patton. It's Travis working his way to the outside of the Mercedes. Got shoved a little bit wide. 3-4 wide at the top of the hill.
Yeah, a little jink there by Patton as he got back on the power and the acceleration, when that allowed Travis to have to make a little bit of a move, and he's lost some ground. There's a bit of debris flies there. They come down through the S's.
Great job by the front row to get sorted out. They built an advantage. Workman over Seldorf. Then you get to Patton. He's embroiled in that fight with Travis and Mars. Those two pretty close together. And into the hornet's nest here in the middle of this pack, where it's all three classes totally intermingled. Oh, big lunge around the outside. Demir hot, trying to pick up a couple of spots. Big twitch there, puts the power down as he challenges Parashon.
That's what's so cool about this racetrack, Ryan. You can go side by side even through some of these high-speed sections like the S's. This is turn 11, really slow corner, about 40-mile-an-hour rolling speed, then back on the power. Long dyno run here, about 1 kilometer in length, all the way down to turn 12 brake zone.
Chris Wilson dicing with Tony Gaples just outside of the top 10 overall. Here comes the field down the long back straightaway for the first time at speed. It's Workman over Seldorf, Patton, Mars, Travis the top 5. Here comes Luca Mars now to the inside of Patton and able to pick off another spot.
Yeah, it was a pretty nice move there by Luca, just showing his experience in GT4 competition, coming off a championship year last year.
Super talented young man with a lot of experience in a short amount of time. He's been very busy in multiple paddocks the last couple of years. He now makes it a silver class 1, 2, 3 at the top of the field. That was a big move for him to get around the out-of-class traffic. Now he can set off in pursuit of Seldorf and Workman for class position.
Tony Gaples there, maybe a little bit of an overflow that you could see from the right rear quarter panel there as he went through that corner there. Maybe they're just topped up on fuel. It could be a fuel thing. There's also been some talk of some of these teams actually running a little bit light for this first stint here. We'll have to see if that comes into play. As we said, about 30 minutes in is when you can start to work the strategy to do it on 3 stops to the finish. Then you see that fluid overflow a little bit there coming out of the right rear corner.
Bruno Colombo for Random Vandals trying to get around Tony Gaples for 10th overall. Got balked at the apex. That left him vulnerable, and here comes Chris Wilson. So these are the 3 classes all mixed up together. The only difference is driver experience across the 2 drivers in the lineup. It's all GT4 machines across the board. So after that maneuver, Wilson able to get around Colombo, and that makes the job a little bit tougher for the silver class entry from Random Vandals trying to get to the rest of the cars in their class.
Yeah, Colombo just trying to get up to speed with this really demanding racetrack. Certainly the S's, I would say, is the hardest part of this racetrack to really get the confidence in, particularly as you got those big tire battles that you're seeing there through the early part of those S's.
Workman's lead after a lap was 1 second. It's now grown up to a 1.5 seconds through Sector 1 on lap number 2. Weston's been about unbeatable in 2026, his first year in GT4 competition coming out of Toyota GR Cup. He's been excellent here in GT4 America. He's been great in IMSA as well, and right now he's got the advantage. But let's look further back in the field. How much progress has Riley Dickinson been able to make off of the starts? A lot. From 28th to 14th, he's up half the field already, Cal.
Incredible. Not unexpected, knowing his speed behind the wheel of a Porsche, so he could certainly make a statement here today. Crazy that he's still silver with the speed that he displays, but that's the name of the game. They've certainly got a stacked lineup there for Kelly Moss.
Here he is. This is a backup car, and it almost looks like they might have had to borrow it from NOLA Sport based on the color patterns on it. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it is in those typical NOLA Sport colors, and I understand they were working on building this backup car and putting it into race shape just mere minutes, really, before the start of this race. Great work by the Kelly Moss team. They were forced to scramble. This was certainly not their plan when the day began.
Yeah, and Riley has run here a lot. He actually lost the championship in Carrera Cup at the final rounds here, so got a bittersweet taste in his mouth about Coda, having lost that championship right at the final rounds here in 2025 to Ryan Yardley, but nonetheless knows this racetrack well, has got a ton of GT4 competition under his belt.
Well, Ryan Yardley's in this field too, so he can maybe get a measure of revenge here today. They'll also race against each other tomorrow in GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Great start to this one. Nice and clean, just the way we wanted it, and certainly that will make Brian Till and the rest of the crew happy in race control. 5 minutes gone by. Workman leads it overall. Seldorf and Mars are...
And they're a little loose there. He was wagging the tail on that Mercedes coming through the high-speed S's. Sits there in P5, leading Pro-Am Matt Travis right on his tail.
Well, Howard, no question about his speed. That's been on display ever since he first turned up in the championship. Had some good runs last year, a win at Barber in class, 5 total podiums on the season, and paired up with the veteran Mark Miller this year.
James Walker next in line there. James Walker Jr. got a ton of family and friends here this weekend. Pressure is on. Spoke to James Clay. He said he's absolutely loving it. There's a bold move down at the inside there. That's Sam Craven out of class, making a move on Garcia there.
Sam for Random Vandals teamed up with Kenton Cook, who's going for yet another championship in this series. Got the win in race 2 at Sonoma, did that pairing, but it did not start the way that they intended. Contact with Patton. The other car involved in that was the car of Michael and Alex Garcia. That's who Craven's working his way by right now, picking up yet another spot. All three of those teams with a season opener to forget, but hey, that's in the rearview mirror now. Focus is now on this 3-hour Enduro.
So up front, you got 4 silver class cars, then a couple of Pro-Ams, and James Walker Jr. leading the AM division, sitting there in P7, the number 36 Bimmerworld BMW. You see the black, red, and white machine there, accelerating off at turn 15 in this triple apexer, mimicked after the Istanbul Grand Prix circuit, turn 8 there. Long winding corner, then you plunge down the hill. Beautiful rhythm here into the final couple of corners of this 3.5-mile circuit.
And Riley Dickinson has entered the chat now, running up to the 14th spot. He's got Jonathan Parashon in the crosshairs. Let's head down to the pits and hear from his teammate Erica Hoffman. She's got to be super impressed, Amanda, with what Riley's been able to do.
Oh yeah, when I got over here, I was talking to Andy Kilcoyne, and I said, what has he got 14 positions so far? He was like, more than that now. Talking with Erica as well. To answer the first question, where did this car come from? Yeah, so big thank you to Nola Sport, who loaned us the car at the last minute, and thank you to Connect Invest, who made it possible for us to get back out there after that quali incident. Well, we were talking about also with Andy that he took Nola Sport off the car in case Riley did anything embarrassing out there, but I don't think that is the case. And Erica, as you take over on this, how do you prep? We've been talking about the conditions. I know drivers are going to be experiencing this all day. How have you prepped for that today? For the heat and everything, I think you give a bit of a prayer, and then once you're in the car, you're kind of just locked in. Your focus is there. As soon as it goes yellow or you come in on your in-lap, that's when it all hits you, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. But when you're in the moment, you're focused, your attention's elsewhere. Good luck today. Thank you so much.
Awesome to have Erica in the paddock, Canadian driver with experience racing GT4 in the UK and UK GT Cup. She's also done some rallying, Porsche Sprint Challenge, and then gets this opportunity, a couple of 8th place finishes to start the season at Sonoma. On the back foot, certainly, to start today, but not for long, as Riley Dickinson has carved his way through the field. He's around Parashon. Next target is for class position, and that is Bruno Colombo. That is the next one in line for the hard-charging Riley Dickinson. Now to the Nola Sport team. Here's Matt Travis, Calvin, and he's on home soil. This is a track he knows very well.
Yeah, and he's just grabbed the lead in Pro-Am, so he's got around Patton on this lap in the dual motorsport Mercedes there. So Patton had an excellent start, really kept his nose clean. Nice solid drive there. We saw him a little bit loose through the S's. I'm not sure if the car's completely underneath him. Travis may have seen that and taken advantage and got that car to the front here early.
I was talking to somebody else in the paddock, and unfortunately my memory fails me. I can't remember who it was, but they pointed out that Matt Travis is just about the gold standard for a bronze driver in this championship. You think of all the success that he's had over the years, and the person in question was saying they counseled their own bronze driver to judge themselves off of what Matt Travis was doing.
Yeah, it's really important that you recognize your role. We spoke to Paul Sparta this morning from Random Vandals about that, that bronze position. It's really about maintaining the pace, keeping it close to the leader. If you're not leading, he has the lead right now, but if you're on the back foot a little bit, just don't damage your hose when you get your pro inside the car, and that's going to be Matthias Leist, who can really drive the wheels off one of these Porsches. They come into this round of the championship with the lead on the back of a win at Sonoma, followed that with a P4 in race 2 there, so a 10-point lead coming in and hold station at the front of the pack right now.
Fight for position hotting up. This is behind the leader, Weston Workman, but second place hangs in the balance. It's Francis Seldorf in that position in the BMW, but just behind, Luca Mars has been steadily reeling him in. Yeah,
he's looked really good since he cleared a little bit of traffic. He may have been out of position a little bit with that qualifying situation today and the grid being set by practice 2 times, but Luca's been up on the wheel, setting some really good sector times. He now holds the fastest lap of this race at a 2:16.3, which is half a second quicker than Seldorf, so you would think with that sort of advantage, he may be able to make a move on this BMW. Weston Workman is only a 10th off of that pace of Luca Mars, so he's holding a great pace here at the front of this pack.
Dr. Luca back at Sonoma, and he's had the privilege of driving with some really experienced co-drivers, and this year's co-driver is no exception, Spencer Pompelli. And Luca said, yeah, this is just a huge benefit for me in my young career to be able to look at data, study, and just trade stories with some of these drivers that have been at this at a high level for a long, long time.
Yeah, they've had success together, obviously, recently. So great combination there, great team. They know the Porsches so well. Always turn out a well-engineered car, does RS1. And with a young talent like Lucas alongside the speed and experience of Jan Halen, they are tough to beat.
Check in on this battle. This is for positions 7, 8, 9, and 10 overall. And it's a BMW Invitational, it would appear. Sam Craven leads the freight train. James Walker Jr., Michael Garcia, Chris Wilson, the rest of this bunch. All aside Craven are fighting for position. Walker is the leader in the AM class, second BMW in this freight train, black and red. Just behind Garcia, he's second in class. Wilson is third.
Quick correction, there's obviously Pompelli driving with Luca in the race here today in the championship, but nevertheless, same applies, speed and experience and championships under his belt.
I didn't even notice. That's what I thought you'd said. So anyway, we move on. This is a big one for Walker, another Texan racing on home soil, and especially after a weekend to forget at Sonoma for himself and James Clay, a track that has not been terribly kind to James Clay, that is, over the years.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain tracks where you can't seem to get the monkey off your back. So, but they come into this championship season really feeling that it's a great pairing. Charlie Poston's obviously retiring after another championship to his name. He and James kind of had quite the tandem going there for a while with multiple championships over the last 4 years, but he's decided to hang his helmet up for the time being anyway. We'll see if he changes his mind as he watches the racing throughout the season. But nonetheless, James Walker and James Clay, they're certainly one of the favorites in that AM class.
They've been the benchmark for the past few seasons, multiple championships, 3 of the last 4, if memory serves. But they've got company this year. What's interesting about this championship in 2026, Cal, all 3 classes are roughly subscribed the same in terms of the number of cars in the class. You don't have some of these outlier classes that are either much bigger or much smaller than the others, and I think that could make for a compelling run to the championship across the board as Chris Wilson, late on the brakes, takes a dive to the inside of Michael Garcia and takes second spot in AM away.
Yeah, really nice. Talk about veterans. He is the ultimate vet behind the wheel of one of these BMWs. Every time he gets a driving opportunity, he always seems to be at the sharp end in the big points, fighting out for a win. So he's up to P2. Now he's got his sights set on that BMW, that fellow BMW right in front of him with James Walker Jr.
Chris very nearly came away with the AM Class Championship in Pirelli GT4 America back in 2024. Came down to the final weekend of the season at Indianapolis, and things went pear-shaped for himself and Michael Kanishak, who was filling in for Paul Sparta, the team boss, injured for that season finale, couldn't take part, and Wilson very nearly took the title with a couple of wins and 8 podiums that year. We've seen him in and out of the championship last year, now back and hooked up with the Lumsden family. He's doing a lot of coaching, helping Craig Lumsden, who we saw earlier today in GT America, but also Zach, who is his co-driver here. And they had a podium finish in race 2 at Sonoma to start the season.
Yeah, now they're titled Colorado Motorsport with Flying Lizard. So bit of a renaming since the last event at Sonoma.
Deep Colorado connection, though. The Lumsdens are from there. Pikes Peak is effectively in their backyard, they told me. They've done a lot going up Pikes Peak over the years. A lot of experience in off-road racing for the family, including Baja, the Dakar, things like that. Still relatively new to road racing, but Chris Wilson also calls Colorado home, so natural tie-in there. And right now, Chris has given this BMW a really, really good run. Since clearing Michael Garcia, he's starting to make some headway in pursuit of James Walker.
Yeah, he's really closed in on that gap to the leader very quickly here over the lap since he moved up to P2. So, yeah, I mean, there's certain drivers in this paddock. If you're looking for a veteran, someone who's got that experience, someone you can learn from, obviously Chris Wilson is going to be one of those guys you're going to turn to if you're looking to really take your program to the next level.
He's also got off-road experience. He told me once he was on Ivan Stewart's chase crew back in the day. Not thinking about that right now. Instead,
chasing the lead.
Yeah, same move as the last time too. Exactly, to the inside, carbon copy to take the lead of the race in AM.
He just really held that car a perfectly straight line, but at an angle that would get him to the apex. Don't want to activate that ABS too hard and take away the braking ability into that corner is just perfectly managed there, as you would expect from the veteran driver.
Now this is what he needs to do in this opening stint. He's the driver with the experience, so he needs to get that car to the pointy end and try and build a gap that Zach can then manage during his stints in the race today, which brings us perhaps to the strategy conversation. So much of this is dictated by the maximum stint lengths and also the fact that you're not allowed to do consecutive stints as a driver. So every pit stop, which will happen every 50 minutes or less, will involve a driver change.
Yeah, so and this is where it gets a little bit tricky. On top of that, they're refueling, they're putting fresh tires on. You'll had 4 sets for qualifying and the race here this weekend. For these teams, obviously qualifying, they only did, what, 3 or 4 laps maximum, so that really goes out the window. So basically 4 fresh sets of Pirelli P0s to do this 4-stint race. And the window opens up about 30 minutes in, so this 50-minute maximum driving stint, you can't really calculate exactly on that. Now we see debris flying there through the S's one more time, so you got to back off that a little bit. I would say about minute 30 if you want to do that stop on the earlier side. You should be safe to go. The time on pit lane does not count towards that driver's stint length, so just back timing it from a 180-minute race.
A lot of experience with these teams up and down the pit lane. Many of them have done endurance racing in various series in the past, so they'll have been spending time in the preparation for this event, poring over the rule book, trying to find the best way to approach this 3-hour enduro, the only one of its kind on the calendar for Pirelli GT4 America. From the back of the pack, we've been telling the Riley Dickinson story, and he's now just about caught these leaders in the M class. There he goes, right there in the Kelly Moss stroke Nola Sport Porsche. Thanks to Amanda for getting to the bottom of that. Up to 11th, and he's done it in less than 18 minutes.
Yeah, really impressive drive.
As you'd expect from a driver like Riley, champion in Carrera Cup. We've seen him at the GT4 level really excel. Big year for him, too, to get the chance to step into GT3.
And you wonder, getting that car so late in the proceedings here today, if they had a good chance to go over the complete setup and get it exactly where they wanted it to be. His fast lap right now is about a second off that fast lap by Luca Mars setting the RS1 Porsche a little bit earlier in this race, but still a tremendous drive, and maybe they can tweak on it a little bit during the pit stops here today to make it a little bit better for them. And also we talked about the balance may be different that you need at the end of this 3-hour.
Chris Wilson has driven to the lead in the AM class. His co-driver, Zach Lumsden, is standing by with Amanda.
Yeah, that guy absolutely loved watching what his co-driver was doing. I was just joking with Zach about his experience at the Baja. He said this temperature is nothing out here, but we were talking strategy as well. Have you guys laid that out, what it looks for you?
Yeah, you know, we have a plan A and a plan B. Plan A is really just kind of seeing how well Chris could go out there and, you know, do his business, and clearly he's really crushing it right now. Plan B is, you know, whatever happens in the race. So it's all up in the air right now, but right now the biggest thing is just trying to get a comfortable place out there on the track.
I love that people watching right now are also taking in this cowboy hat that you have, Zach, that has the Colorado Motorsport on it. Where did you pick this up?
Where do we pick this up? Oh, that's a good question. You know, we got it online. We had some friends help us out and get it. Shout out to our photographer, Joseph Osero, for helping us get it. It got in time, and, you know, it's a perfect place for the race.
So it's couture. It's custom.
Yes.
Couture cowboy hats down here, guys.
Awesome. Love to see it. And that is a family that absolutely loves their racing. Full stop, as mentioned. So much experience in off-road racing, but now trying out circuit racing here, and great members of the paddock.
Yeah, they may be one of the teams that elects to keep Chris out there for his full 50-minute stint just to maximize his drive time, and then put Lumsden in for maybe a shorter stint and then get Craig back on board. Got to alternate drivers, so there'll be 3 driver changes during the course of this 4-stint race.
Little change from last year, where driver 1 on the entry list is obligated to take the start. That really affects the Pro-Am class, where your least experienced driver is automatically the driver 1. But in Silver and in Am, the teams can nominate who driver 1 will be, and so that was a strategic play right away from Colorado Motorsports and Flying Lizard to put Chris in at the start when I would suggest most of their competition has gone the opposite route.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's a little bit of out-of-the-box type thinking, but sometimes that's what it takes. If you have a long green flag run or green flag race, hard to believe we'll get through 3 hours of action here at COTA without seeing a yellow flag here today, but nonetheless, that could work to their favor if they get that at the right time.
By the way, I'm sure we covered this, but Luca Mars has gotten up to second place around Francis Seldorf, and just there, Bruno Colombo, Tony Gaples doing battle. This is good for Bruno, brings him closer to Riley Dickinson, the next car in his class. Tony Gaples just off the podium, currently holding down 4th place in the Pro-Am class for the Black Dog Racing team.
Yeah, and they had a disappointing start to the campaign at Sonoma, 12th in race 1, but that runner-up finish in race 2 has certainly got them in the thick of the points. You know that he and Michael Cooper are going to be a hard duo to beat in this championship chase this year. Michael's got so much experience now with this GT4 McLaren. Great group led by Ray Sorensen at Black Dog Speed Shop, so they've got all of the tools in place.
Just behind Tony Gaples is Stephen Cameron Racing in their BMW. Jonathan Parishon, who was so strong in his debut weekend at Sonoma. He told us at the time his plan wasn't to do the full season. Chatted with him a little bit earlier today and asked, is that still the plan? And he said, yes, but if we keep running well, it's going to be a harder decision to make.
Yeah, you keep digging deep and grinding to try and make it come together with some partners and some resources to continue for a championship. It's amazing how your philosophy changes once you have a little bit of success that they've seen already.
The familiar racing to end Alzheimer's colors on that BMW. They've been partnered up with Stephen Cameron Racing for quite a while. This is the 7th appearance for the charity in a race here at Circuit of the Americas. And Jonathan's co-driver, Greg Leafouge, has raced here quite a bit, 13 times, 5 podiums and 1 victory. That was back in 2019. But as you can see, a bunch of names adorn that car. Those are the names of those that have suffered with Alzheimer's, and their family members have pledged some money to the cause, and as a reward, able to put the name of a loved one on the door. It's a great cause. They've raised a ton of money over the last half-decade or so, and show no signs of slowing down.
No, and they've really got a great group there with Greg, who's certainly, I think he's one of those drivers that always kind of flies to me under the radar a little bit. I think he's got so much speed, and I'm hoping that one day he'll get a shot, maybe in GT3 competition, even in SRO, because he certainly deserves that. He's really one of the best in the paddock at GT4 level.
I second that for sure. I think he's as good in a GT4 BMW as anybody in North America, and would love to see him get that chance. Meanwhile, Riley Dickinson has worked his way into the midst of that AM class battle we were talking about, now up 18 spots in less than 25 minutes.
Yeah, he's having fun out there. This is racetrack is a blast to drive, as we said. There's plenty of racing room. Unlike Sonoma, which can be really tricky to pass on, you can get stymied here, but just with the real estate that's ample in terms of the width of the racetrack here, it really gives an opportunity for a driver like Riley to show what he can do and carving his way through this field.
Next target is James Walker Jr., who is second in the AM class. In your career, Cal, did you ever have a situation like this where you knew you had a fast car, but you were starting at the back and you just got to pass a lot of people and kind of enjoy the experience despite the frustration of not having good starting track position? Yeah,
I think, and I've certainly had some first laps where you get like maybe tipped off the racetrack and you're a little bit frustrated.
Sure.
You're suddenly at the back of a big field. I remember once at Road America where I was running Sports 2000 back in 1985 and got bundled off the road, dropped to about 55th position, and we managed to finish second that day, and it was just a lot of fun. Just you know, I was up on the wheel, and the car was really good, but it is fun when you can carve your way through a big field like we're seeing here today as well.
And you wish they paid passing points like they do with some short track racing. That would have been a pretty good payday for you that day. 55th to second, wow. Even Riley Dickinson hasn't done that, at least not today. Probably could if given the opportunity. That said, pace of these front runners in AM is pretty solid. It's not like he's reeling them in hand over fist. He's going to have to fight for it. Meanwhile, Alan Patton has dropped back into the clutches of Sam Craven. This is for position here. Second and third up for grabs in Pro-Am.
Wow, that was a little bit wild there. Craven carving across the tail there of Alan Patton. Craven, I'd say, was one of the drivers who was the most out of position. He did a tremendous job. I was super impressed by his drive at Sonoma, bumping into Kenton Cook, and he said, don't be surprised, that's what he can do every single weekend. So underestimated the pace of Sam Craven in that Pro-Am class this year alongside Kenton Cook.
Won the championship a year ago with Josh Green and this team. New co-driver for Sam this year. He's been posting some really interesting Q&As on his social media, answering questions from fans of the sport, and I think he's doing a really good job with that, kind of providing a look behind the curtain of what it takes to go racing, especially as someone who does not do this as a profession. He's one that is in a position where he can do this for fun on the weekends, and he has become very adept at his craft in a short amount of time. Love the speed shot. Gives you an idea of how quick these GT4 cars are around COTA. Here's Dickinson peeking to the inside.
Yeah, I think Walker's just, he's got to let him go. It's an out-of-class car, so there's no point in fighting that one. Long race ahead of you, James. He's making wise moves right now, as you'd expect from the, call him a veteran now. He's been in this form of competition for quite some time, so he certainly knows the ropes.
Won this race last year, did James Walker Jr. Teamed up with Tyler McQuarrie. Tyler's in the field again this year. He's teamed up with Michael Petramalo down in 17th overall. Happy to see Michael walk away from that big crash he had in race 2 at Sonoma last month, but back and dialed in, ready to go. Talked to team boss James Clay a little bit about Michael. He said his speed is there coming out of Ferrari Challenge. What he's having to learn is being in a battle all the time. That's just the nature of this championship. It is cutthroat.
It really is, and sometimes those battles, as we've said many times today, are not for cars that are in the same class. So you got to handle that dynamic as well. How much time are you losing by battling it out or just letting them go, like we saw with James Walker Jr. just a few corners ago?
Weston Workman continues to lead, but the gap is starting to close. Here's a look, or a moment ago there was a look at which cars are best in which sectors. And Workman had one of the three, but the other two belong to Mars. And he's been able to inch closer. It was down under 3 seconds a moment ago, but this most recent sector, edge goes back to Weston Workman in that Toyota Supra. And Francis Seldorf, although Mars was able to get around, it's not like he's falling off the pace either. These three seem pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Francis Seldorf. Saw him win an IMSA race at Mid-Ohio, an 4-hour race with a lot of talent behind him and just held them off. And I think that really boosted his confidence. He also runs with the Turner Racing team in GT3 competition here in North America as well. So, but he wanted to come back. He felt he had unfinished business in GT4 competition, and then this opportunity came together with Kevin Boehm, this Auto Technique group. So he's got a really great teammate, championship winner, excellent team. Rob Driscoll and the whole gang, they're doing an awesome job.
And I'll tell you, the other person who is super impressed with Francis is his co-driver, Kevin Boehm. He has been effusive in his praise. This came together really last minute. They were both kind of scrambling to put together a program before the season started, but once the ball got rolling down the hill, apparently it was pretty quick. Took about a day to put the contract together, get it signed, and then make the announcement, and then they were off and running at Sonoma not too long thereafter.
Yeah, I know Kevin was working hard during the off-season to try and be up into GT World Challenge America this year, maybe even with Kenton Cook, who he won that championship with last year, but couldn't quite get all of the pieces in play, so obviously defaulted back to GT4 competition. Loves the BMW platform, and there was an opportunity there with Auto Technique and bringing Francis on board as well.
Hard to believe Weston Workman is in his first season of GT4 racing as quickly as he's taken to it. Coming out of the highly competitive Toyota GR Cup North America, where he was frequently a contender, but until about a year ago next month, never quite could break through and get the win, but the floodgates opened at Sebring, and then once he started winning, he just hasn't stopped. That's carried over as he's made the step up into GT4.
Yeah, and he's riding a big high right now with confidence and momentum, of course.
When we said they were evenly matched, we weren't kidding. Not much at all between the two of them. In fact, at this pace, if Luca Mars is going to run down Weston Workman, it would take him 18 laps. So it's more or less stabilized here at this stage. Meanwhile, problems here. Tom Kopczynski, one of the cars involved, and Roland Kreins is the other. That's the BMW. The two locked together. Somehow they're able to extricate themselves from that situation, and that was very close. Rejoining the track right in front of one of the Dome Mercedes.
Yeah, Kreins has actually come into this round of the championship second in points with his teammate Stephen Mackler on the back of a 4th and a 3rd place finish at Sonoma. We're into the pit stop window here, where if you want to take that early stop, you could and make it on 2 more stops to the finish. We'll see if there's any takers on that. We saw a lot of that activity last year.
Doesn't look like we'll need a safety car intervention here. Both cars able to continue on. This is a backup car, by the way, for Kopczynski. Had contact in a test session earlier this weekend, not of his making. Here's a look at what happened.
Oh, wow. I don't know if he was caught off with that McLaren in his rearview mirror there and just missed his braking point a little bit, but suddenly Tom just dove for the apex and got into the side of the BMW.
That chassis that Kopczynski is driving, the backup car, that is the same car that Eric Filgares and John Capestro Dubets won a Silver Class championship with a couple of years ago. So Eric, who is Tom's co-driver and longtime coach, reunited, in a sense, with a car he has some happy memories with, but that will have them behind the 8 ball. Happily, though, they were able to continue on despite the contact. That said, it's been a pretty clean, he says with fingers crossed, start to this race. This would normally be the halfway mark in one of these Pirelli GT4 America races, just beyond it, typically just 1 hour sprints, but one time a year, we roll out this endurance race format. This is the 3rd time it's been run, all 3 times here at Circuit of the Americas. And talking to teams up and down the paddock, I have yet to find any dissenters. Everyone loves the fact that they get to go endurance racing at least once to try something a little bit different than what they're accustomed to.
Yeah, I think everyone enjoys it and just embraces it, and obviously it's a big setup change for the groups to have refueling equipment and wheel guns and stuff like that have to be done quickly. So it's a big investment, but the teams, as you said, have certainly enjoyed this opportunity. We'll see if we increase that to maybe another event during the course of a 7-event championship season, but I think it's a sweet spot right now. Here we go. So Kreins is into pit lane. I'm not sure if that's because of damage or whether that just fits their strategy as well.
Like you said, we're in a position now where even if it wasn't exactly what you have planned, you can call that car in to take a look at any potential damage. Roland Kreins brings the car to the pit lane, and Amanda Busick is standing by.
That's exactly what they're going to do, Ryan. They're going to check on damage on that BMW. Talking to the team, they think there may be a little bit of suspension damage, as we see on the left-hand side of this BMW. Pretty banged up down here. They're also going to go ahead and do a full stop. Stephen Mackler is going to go inside that BMW. Tires coming off on the right-hand side. So I see tires, I see fuel assessment of damage. I also see Kevin Boehm down here with this helmet on. So another stop potentially coming for Auto Technic.
Race control has taken a look at the incident, and Tom Kopczynski has been given a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, it just looked like he just missed his braking point. He had that McLaren close behind him and just kind of missed it, just had to dive for the apex, and I don't think Kreins was expected to be there at that late stage of the corner.
So the crew member there giving the suspension a bit of a wiggle. It does seem like if there's a concern, it's at the left rear, which would make some sense. Here's Parishon. He'll come into the pit lane as well. This is Stephen Cameron Racing. So the first couple of pit callers here, the window is open to do this on just 2 more stops.
Yeah, and we saw a flood of cars coming in last year, some a little bit too early. and had to compromise their race strategy a little bit later. Obviously, if you're a few seconds shy, it's not demanding that you get this stop done. 95 seconds is the minimum stop time if you employ a driver change. You can't double stint, so if you're really doing a full service, you have to do that driver change, and then it's 95 seconds, including the service from pit in to pit out. You're looking at about 36 seconds transition time down pit lane, so you're almost a minute to get all the service done, so there should be no panic.
Hopefully this is good news that Autotechnic has sent Krines back out on track. Would love to be able to get some confirmation that all is well, but for the moment, that is some good news. A look at another entry from Random Vandals Racing, the Lupe Tortilla entry, who have come over and joined the team for the first time starting this year. This is a busy duo here with Judson Holt and Denny Stripling, not just racing here in the States, but also doing quite a bit of racing over at the Nürburgring, where they were sharing the racetrack with one Max Verstappen last weekend.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. What a story that is, that he's sharing the track with a multiple world champion and they're still at the top of his game. So love Max's passion for racing, and I think there's going to be a lot of drivers in that Nürburgring 24-hour race that are going to be trying to capture a shot with Max Verstappen in the same frame and hanging it on the office wall maybe.
Part of SRO's Intercontinental GT Challenge for the second time is the Nürburgring 24. Battle for position here. This is Gibbons fighting with Gaffarov. Gibbons in the McLaren, Gaffarov in the Porsche. Side by side, where Sean, former champion in the series, to the inside of Gaffarov, and he'll take the spot away.
Yeah, nice and cleanly done. No fuss there. Shown a ton of experience. Great to see him back full time at the moment for this year. That's the intention. Certainly had to curtail their program last year with a little bit of damage and didn't have the funds to continue, but they've regrouped here, and Ian Owens is certainly looking to put on a great show.
Won that title back in 2020. Teamed up with Zach Anderson, who I saw here this weekend.
Oh,
He's doing some coaching. Couldn't give me details, but did say there is work afoot to get back in the paddock at some point, and we'd certainly love to see that.
Yeah, certainly been one of the fastest drivers in GT4 competition over the last few seasons, so it'd be great to see Zach back on the racetrack rather than just on the side.
Yeah, his resume over here speaks for itself. Champion, multi-time race winner across different classes in Pirelli GT4 America. Meanwhile, Gaffarov lost that spot, but still in a decent rhythm. Solid start to the year for himself in Ross Pool, 5th and 8th in the first 2 races. And just behind, that's where you find Tyler Stone for the Tech Sport team in this Ford Mustang. And he's got a special partner here on board this weekend, Jeffrey Machine, new sponsor that produces equipment for like electrical vehicles and things of that nature, drill bits, things like that. And Jeffrey Machine on board for the weekend, hoping to have them a lot longer. And also wanted to give a quick word to Tyler's wife, Rachel, who's home, apparently nursing a sore back. They're in the middle of moving house.
Uh-oh.
Tyler took a break from moving house to come race this weekend, but he's thinking of you, Rachel.
Tyler, they have people for that. Shouldn't be the missus doing the heavy lifting.
Well, he's off to a decent start here this weekend. They feel like they're getting that car dialed in. Didn't really get a representative starting position on the grid because of the fact that qualifying basically got scrapped in practice 2, which is where the times that set the grid ended up coming from. They were running on scrub tires by and large. So little work to do for himself and Frankie Muniz, who were on the podium as in their debut as a tandem back at Sonoma.
Yeah, that was a great result for Frankie and Tyler there, obviously celebrated big time, but this field is fierce, and it's not going to come easy to repeat that podium run, but you know, they've been working hard with that Mustang.
Bad news from the Autotechnic tent. Amanda reporting that Stephen McAleer, who got in the car that Roland Krines started, out for a lap to assess the situation, but now has gone back to the paddock and to the garage, so the team will have to take a look at it there and maybe make some repairs, hope to get them back out on track, but that is frustrating, not even an hour into this race.
Certainly for one of our championship contenders, you got to keep it clean here, and it's unfortunate what happened up there into turn 1. 39 car is in. Now, could this trigger other teams making a start? Because of the length of the lap here, you could be a long way behind the leader and get back out and stay on that lead lap. Then if there's yellow, pit lane closes, and that can really be to your advantage. So this may be the first of kind of somebody's running towards the sharp end of this field, and could force the issue a little bit. Patton did a nice job in that opening salvo.
He sure did. Held his own, and then turns the car over now to the veteran Mark Miller.
Yeah, and just a reminder that the maximum driving stint length is 50 minutes, so typically you can't absolutely maximize that because it's a long lap here, and timing that perfectly would not typically work out. So you're really looking at somewhere about 48 minutes, 48 to 49 minutes will be the stint length. When you start to back time that and the time on pit lane doesn't count, we're certainly in the window about, it was about 10, 12 minutes ago where teams could have elected to do a pit stop and do it on 2 more to the finish. But you tend to box yourself in a little bit. So I think by the fact that none of the leaders came, there's no point in coming if it's not going to be a huge advantage. But once you have one of the leaders come, then if there's a yellow, you can certainly lose that track position by them leapfrogging to the front when the safety car goes back out on the racetrack.
Interesting ebb and flow to this battle. Luca Mars started 5th, raced his way up to 2nd, got around Seldorf to do so. Francis started in 2nd place, but now, deeper into the stint, it seems like the BMW, or maybe just Francis, getting more and more comfortable, extracting a little more pace, and Luca is on the defensive after being the aggressor early on.
Yeah, certainly the heat seems to favor the BMW in these conditions as well in terms of the engine performance. But you just have to wonder whether the long run pace of this car is a little bit stronger. That's certainly something that his teammate Kevin Boehm spoke about with Amanda on the pre-grid there in terms of make sure you've got a car that's strong at the end of the 50 minutes, and also factoring in you might need a slightly different balance to the race car when it cools off here in a couple of hours.
After those pit stops, we're starting to see some pace unlocked from these cars as they get a fresh set, or at least a fresher set of Pirelli P0s. Greg Leofouge now in the car, and just moments ago set the fastest lap of the race. But to your point, Calvin, they timed this where they had a big enough gap relative to the race leader where they could get the stop done and stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about it. Gives those strategy options because of the length of the racetrack. And we're going to dig into this tomorrow in the 3-hour GT World Challenge America race. Totally different animal here at COTA compared to Sonoma, where you had to be within, I don't know, 10, 20 seconds of the lead and stay on that lead lap. You can be about a minute behind here in the GT3 competition we'll call tomorrow. So that really changes the game a lot.
Yeah, the willingness to gamble on the short pit strategy, it's there because you don't risk getting trapped a lap down in the event of a safety car. Instead, it's the opposite, where the safety car, to your point, would be to your benefit. This lead pack working its way past the McCumbee-McAleer Mustang. It's now Jensen Altzman behind the wheel.
The other thing is, if you look at the clock and you carve up the cake of a 3-hour race, if you think, well, what's the best way of getting the most out of the 4 sets of tires? Well, do 4 45-minute stints, and we're getting to that point in the race where you're not really running that last 5 minutes or so when the tires may be going off a little bit, just really maximizing things, and we're starting to see some pit lane activity.
It's Eddie Colleen out of the M-Class entry from the Dome team. We have our leader in Pro-Am in, Matt Travis. Sam Craven follows him in. That's second in the Pro-Am class. Some of the other front runners had already pitted, of course, so these guys had cycled through to the lead. Travis about to get out, and ex-IndyCar driver Matthias Leist gets in. Matthias, one of those drivers that did race in the one IndyCar race held at Circuit of the Americas back in 2019.
How cool is that? It's so cool to talk to Matt Saracen, who's obviously involved in that IndyCar race, but also raced F1 here.
Great to see these pit crews get a chance to show what they could do with these live pit stops. Typically in this series, it's just a driver change and maybe bleeding a little tire out of the Pirellis, but here the pit crews have a competitive part to play in the proceedings in a way that they don't on the other 6 weekends. Travis out, Leist is in, They're holding him, which means the stop must have been good. They're just trying to make sure they don't leave the pit lane too soon to run afoul of the 95-second minimum pit in to pit out. And just behind, the Random Vandals team releases Kenton Cook as well. That's going to be a fun scrap to watch. Mateus Laced and Kenton Cook once they get released from the pits.
Get a number on that. Nice job there by Nola Sport. 95.426 seconds, so just 4/10 out of the side of the minimum. You're allowed up to a 2-second kind of joker time if you're underneath, but that's a multiplier of 10 that gets added to your next pit stop or at the end of the race if it is the final stop of the race. But you want to be right around just a few tenths off the minimum and not really play too much jeopardy with that. That's really nicely done by that team. Ticking all of the boxes right now. Excellent start by Matt Travis, holding the lead, bringing it in. Getting over his teammate, as you said, has got great experience here at COTA.
And Mark Miller, he's already in this car. He's been in it for a couple of laps now. As you can tell, he is hitting his rhythm. The tires are up to temperature, and he is trying to chase down these two that run ahead fresh out of the pits.
That's the other advantage you got, of course, is what we call the undercut when you get those fresh Pirelli P0s on a little bit earlier in your lap times, even though you're topped up with fuel, should be a little bit quicker than a driver who's hanging on through the last 5 minutes of the driver's stint.
Should be seeing the rest of the field here any moment, really this lap or the next, because we're running up on that 50-minute maximum stint time. And now we see some of these cars that can't make it around another time. They're coming in now. They run it as deep into the stint as they can. Random Vandals and their silver class car. Might be a problem with the air gun there on the right front. Saw the mechanic go down and kind of work on it momentarily, but the tire change continues on. Just a little bit delayed on the right front.
Yeah, you've got plenty of time here, so there's no real panic. Had two guns in this GT4 competition, only a single gun. But it's a single nut wheel in GT3 competition here tomorrow.
Bruno Colombo just completed his first racing stint at COTA. Next it'll be Josh Green, Pro-Am champion a year ago.
And these drivers, they're gonna have to come this lap. I don't think there's enough time on the board to skip back around. You've got 2.5 minutes. They run the lap times at about 2:15, so I think they'll be just out the window, so it's going to force the top 3 cars into pit lane this time.
Could be about as busy as the pit lane will be. Pushing the car back. Oh, they didn't park it on the marks, and Random Vandals didn't get the refueling rig plugged in, it would appear.
Seemed like there was plenty of slack in the hose. I'm not sure what the issue was there. That was bizarre, because it seemed like there was plenty of ability to get that plugged in a little bit sooner, unless it wasn't flowing correctly and just replugging it in.
This has been an event that has been difficult for them over the years. And that car is still stationary. Not like they had great track position in class anyway, but this is costing them dearly.
Yeah, leaders are in. Workman's behind a car. Hopefully for him, he's not being balked there, and that car is completely up to the minimum pit lane speed. He traverses pit lane.
Oh, and this is not the best timing there for Luca Mars. Oh, and maybe a fire down in one of the stalls just ahead. You saw the fire extinguishing. Looks like it was taking care of whatever it was.
Tyler Gonzalez getting ready to jump on board here. Won this race last year. Different teammate, of course.
Yep. Wagner. How good has Tyler been in this car? Another GR Cup champion. He has been so quick in the GT4 Supra.
Yeah, he's really quick. Just looking at the lap times at Sonoma, both the drivers were quick, but certainly Tyler had a little bit of edge as Weston gets up to speed in one of these GT4 cars, but he certainly showed what he could do there, leading this race comfortably through this opening stint.
A little delay here on the right rear. Is this going to hold up the release, or was the rest of the work done in time? It looks like everything's okay, as they've not sent the car.
I think you should have about 15 seconds of fudge factor. You see the RS1 car released out of the box, so just have to have a look at these times there, see if the RS1 machine cut it a little bit closer on that minimum stop time compared to the Rafa Racing Group.
Well, Gonzalez will come out in front here as we reset the battle.
About 8/10 difference, so 135.4 start for Luca Mars. Turn it over to Spencer Pumpelly, and Gonzalez's stop getting the car from Western was 136.2, so that makes it a little bit tighter. 0.8 difference there on the pit stop.
Well, we're pretty well through the first pit sequence of this race. Still another yet to come. 2 hours, 9 minutes on the clock, and we'll let things sift through to get a sense for where we run. Rafa Racing running multiple cars here this weekend. Got a big hospitality area up on the hill overlooking the S's. This is effectively a home race for that team. At least a lot of their roots are here at COTA. Team run out of North Carolina. And this is the Tech Sport team. So looks like Tyler Stone's first stint is done. Frankie Muniz will be getting in. Uh-oh, we lost a lug nut on the right rear. Spare has been located. But like you said, Calvin, the rules are written in such a way that there is some wiggle room where you have a little bit of room on the back end, but you can't mess around too long or it could cost you time.
Yeah, I think that's really an example as a team that's really not used to doing these tire changes in rapid fashion. So you need some spare lug nuts. If you start spinning them off and they're disappearing underneath the race car or down pit lane, you have some others on your belt or in your pocket, so to speak, to make sure you can still get the tire replacement done and snugged up.
So to the front we go, and it's still the Rafa Racing team showing the way. Tyler Gonzalez now inherits the lead.
He's really got up on the wheel, because when they left pit lane, remember we saw that RS1 machine really close. Now Spencer has gapped between he and the leader by several seconds, it looks like. Yeah. Across the line, he's 3.2 seconds back, so.
Caught perhaps in a little bit of traffic here as he goes to the inside. That's Ron Tomlinson making his series debut as teammate to Eddie Colleen this weekend. Laura Hayes started the year with the team. Expect her back, but she was not available, and Ron gets the chance to jump in for the Dome team, which continues to grow. Eddie Colleen, the man behind it. Mark Miller's really done a lot of work helping him to run that operation, and Mark's not thinking about that right now because we're checking in with the sister car, and he is putting some pressure on the Random Vandals machine of Kenton Cook right away. This is 6th and 7th overall.
Yeah, this could be a fun battle. Look at Kenton just attack these S's. Great to see him wrestling the car over the curbs there.
Can you see a difference in maybe tolerance up and over the curbs comparing the two brands, the BMW and the Mercedes?
Well, I'm not sure just whether the car allows you to do that, but certainly Kenton was eating up a bit more of the curbs than the Mercedes behind him, and Mark Miller, both super fast drivers, of course. So much experience here, so much success over the years. Kenton had quite the season in 2025 with 2 championships to his name. Not running in GT World Challenge America this year, unfortunately, but every time he shows up, he's been knocking on the door for wins, it seems. He's just a driver who's totally at the top of his game right now.
Dropping a little further down the order to 8th overall, that's where you find Greg Leofouge. Then you get to 9th and 10th, which is 1st and 2nd in the AM class, and it's very similar to the way we left it. This time, though, James Clay behind the wheel of the Bimmer World entry, and behind it's now Alex Garcia taking over for his brother Michael.
Just looking at the stop, it looked like Lumsden, who's now down to P3. His teammate had the lead in AM earlier in the day, but they dropped down to 3rd. They had a decent pit stop, so I'm not sure if there's just been some action since all of the drivers got back out on the racetrack, or whether they just pitted at different times and the undercut versus the overcut worked out for one of these squads. But right now, James Clay has the lead.
New team for the brothers Garcia in 2026, ACI Motorsports, best known for its work with Porsches, but campaigning a BMW for the first time. From the lead in AM, we go to the lead in the Pro-Am class, and Matthias Leist, living up to the billing, just turned in the fastest lap of the race. He's P4 and leads in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, just a super driver. great to see him just accepting this new challenge in GT racing. Obviously a top single-seater driver over the years, including a stint in IndyCar, but just wasn't to be, so he's found a new home here in the SRO paddock.
Right now, breathing down the neck of Ron Tomlinson. This is a lapped car. Ron's down in 24th overall. Mateus puts the pass on him. We'll look to try and build that advantage over Kenton Cook, who's trying to give chase. Mark Miller pursuing him. Back to the battle for the lead in AM, though. James Clay, Alex Garcia, a couple of BMWs squaring up to face off with one another here with just over 2 hours to go.
So evenly matched. Last lap, only a couple of hundredths between the two cars. You'd imagine when they're glued together like that. They're running very good lap times. Talked about Lace running low 16s. These guys are driving in the AM class running mid 17s, so super pace by both of them.
Mentioned it earlier, but it's worth reiterating. 3 different classes in Pirelli GT4 America, but GT4 is at the heart of all of it. The only difference in the classes is the composition of the driver lineups. In the AM class, you must be an FIA bronze graded driver, whereas you can mix and match pro with a bronze in Pro-Am, as the name would indicate, and then silver belongs to a couple of silver drivers. Where would you be these days, Cal?
Not sure if there's a category for rust, but, or lead maybe.
Maybe. I think you're selling yourself short, if you ask me.
That's amazing when you see performances from some of the older statesmen in our championship. Guys like Chris Wilson and others who still have the pace later in life.
By the way, we mentioned during the pit stops, I saw the fire extinguishant, and Amanda with an update that it was the number 10 entry from ACI Motorsports. That was the car started by Muzaffar Ghafarov. Ross Poole was set to take over. As far as I could tell, that car is still in the pit lane. Speaking of cars in the pit lane, Greg Leafouge is in. He was running top 10 overall. What could that be about, Cal?
Has to be an issue. You can't make it on one more stop to the finish, obviously, with 50-minute maximum stint length.
That's a strange one. All right, well, we'll try and get to the bottom of that in a moment, but first a chance to hear from Amanda.
Yeah, I do have a camera down here, guys, to show you with the hood up on this Porsche. There was a residual fuel fire when they took the hose off the fuel rig off of the Porsche. They are getting this car cleaned back up to get back on track, but just an unfortunate event here for ACI.
That was just a pass through the pits for the Stephen Cameron Racing team, which, is that right? It also shows Parishon in the car, so maybe did they stop briefly to change driver? That's one we're gonna have to send Amanda to check on. If Amanda could get to Stephen Cameron Racing and see who's in the pits and therefore who's in the car and what that was all about. That was very strange.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got to do 2 more stops to get to the finish, so it'd be an additional one to the rest of the field. So I'm not sure that's going to work out as a strategy play, but we'll wait and see if Amanda can get some answer from Stephen Cameron himself.
I think they must have stopped because he was only in the pits for 1 minute and 3 seconds, but that's longer than it would take just to do the drive-through, right?
Well, if you do a driver change, you got to match the 95 seconds.
True. True. So that is a strange one. Now it says Leafouge again, so it is at least the same driver in the car, but what took them down the pit lane, I'm not sure. That's unfortunate because that car was awfully quick. In the meantime, battle for the lead in AM, and it could be that Alex Garcia has taken the spot away, but not so fast, says James Clay. Gets a pretty good run around the outside through turn number 20, and it's a BMW M-Power fueled drag race down the front straightaway.
Yeah, it looked like James got a little bit more straightaway speed, which is hard to believe with 2 pretty much identical BMWs. Garcia's given him a wide berth here, giving him plenty of racing room, wants to get the lead, get that track position, but not take any risk here with a long, long way to go in this motor race.
Brothers Garcia a year ago picked up a win
in one of the 2 races at Sonoma. They were fixtures on the podium throughout the course of the year, but a couple of unfortunate weekends left them a disappointing 4th in points. They come into this weekend 5th in points, despite a pole and a 2nd place in the 2 races at Sonoma.
Michael Cooper right behind them. He currently runs 10th overall, 4th in the Pro-Am class, taking over from Tony Gaples, who had a really nice opening stint right there. And Michael's got good pace here. He's been running laps in the mid-16 range, about half a second off. Fast lap of the day, which is a 2:16.1. So Pumpelli's taken away that fast lap from Matthias Leist here by just a few hundredths of a second.
So this was the pit fire. Bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The driver change was complete, and whoa, little burst of flame on the hood. That's where the refueling is done on the Cayman, remember. It was quickly extinguished. And the report is the team is working on trying to get that car back out into the race. But as you can see, the second driver got out. Oh, and we got a problem here. This is, could it be? This is Alex Garcia, who had just taken the lead.
Some kind of technical issue here.
And that car is stopped somewhat in the firing line, as we saw a moment ago. Does this open up any opportunity for anyone to play strategy? I don't think that it would.
No, it's pretty boxed in because you can't, if you do a driver change, you've got to be sitting still for 95 seconds or on pit lane for 95 seconds. Take a look and see what happens here. So we're coming down into the brake zone for turn 12. Garcia just suddenly slows. He went off the road. I'm sure he's just picking up the paint there with the hot, sticky Pirelli tires there that was flicking up in the air. I'm not sure if he's just gone for a Control-Alt-Delete. Can't stop in a hurry. He probably feels he's out of harm's way, but he's still in kind of the target zone if you miss your braking point for turn 12.
So bad news for the erstwhile leaders of the class, bad news for the new leaders in the class. 30-second time penalty at next pit stop for a pit lane violation for James Clay and James Walker Jr. in the Bimmer World team.
That is going to be a tough one to overcome. I'm going to serve that on the next pit stop, so they'll be in pit lane for 125 seconds minimum.
Another car picked up a penalty. That is the 03 from Precision Racing LA. Carl Foreman in the longest ever race that he has run in his real life career. He's a really accomplished sim racer, so I'm sure he's done some long distance races on the sim, but anyway, this one going a bit awry for them. They also have a 30-second penalty, he and Ryan Eversley. And because of the stopped car, there it is, full course yellow. We were hearing it was imminent. That then breaks off the battles. It also condenses the field, but boy, you have to feel for ACI. They lose one car to the pit fire. Now their BMW is stopped on track, both of which were having decent days, really good days in the case of the Garcias.
Yeah, I was just about to say what James Clay really needed was a green flag run. So he's got the lead of the race, try and stretch it out so that minimizes when he sits still 30 seconds longer than the rest of the field. But this just compresses the field. So he's got to really go to work when we get back to green here before the next round of pit stops.
This wipes out the lead for Gonzalez. Pumpelli and Bohm will close in. Leist, Baltas, Kenton Cook, Mark Miller, Michael Cooper, James Clay for now, and Ryan Yardley. That's the top 10. Everyone down to 21st was still on the lead lap. This came at a great time for Sam Owen. They were on the verge of going a lap down, but that car gets to cycle back around and keeps them on the same lap as the contenders in the AM class. And there aren't that many in the AM class that are still on that lead lap. So that really bifurcates the AM class front runners at this stage. Now there's a chance some could get wave bys here if they're between their class leader and the overall leader in the pace car train. But even still, you'd always rather be on this side of it than the other side where you're hoping for the wave around.
Yeah, we're about 14, 15 minutes away from the point where you could stop and get it done on one more stop to the finish and not exceed those driver stint times of 50 minutes. So don't expect to see a ton of activity on pit lane this go around. It certainly has given Spence Pumpelli added incentive. He just laid down the fastest lap of the race, and now he's going to sit there right on the tail of Gonzalez when we go back to green. Curious to know what happened there when they exited pit lane on that out lap. Certainly Gonzalez leapt ahead of Pumpelly by a strong margin.
Yeah, he did. That was kind of surprising. No, wiped away now. For Bimmer World, though, Calvin, if the pit's open under this full course yellow, why not go ahead and serve that penalty and then get bunched back up, especially with so few cars on your lap in class? Wouldn't this be an opportunity to get that taken care of, or are you not allowed to under the yellow?
I don't think you're allowed to serve a penalty under yellow. I think you ought to be under green flag conditions.
Okay.
Now, I like the way you're thinking.
Trying to find a way to help them out of this hole. Got a feel for them. They've had some tough luck in some of these races in recent years. This has been one that's been good for them, but they had a Sonoma to forget. And talking to James Clay, he's about ready to never go back to Sonoma the way that place has treated him the last few years.
Yeah.
You ever have a track like that?
Not one that I've been snake bit, just, you know, it's like horses for course. I think there's, you relate it to a golfer, they just seem to excel at certain courses and just meets their eye. I think there's certainly racetracks that do the same thing. You know, never one that I hated going to. A racetrack's a racetrack. You just got to have the mentality that you're going to make it work, even if you've had, you know, poor results in the past.
Just past the 1 hour mark in the Lone Star Enduro here for Pirelli GT4 America. Tyler Gonzalez leads Spencer Pumpelly and Kevin Bohm. Mateus Laced, 4th overall, leading in class. A look back on the first hour of racing. IndyCar driver and Indy 500 winner Marcus Ericsson with the command to start engines. Rafa Racing's Weston Workman at the pole position, as he and they have had so often this year. Race got started with a drag race up the hill to turn number 1. Workman able to hang on to the lead from there with some early pressure from Francis Seldorf. Remarkably, despite the inviting nature of the corner and 3 and 4 wide in places, it was a clean run through turn 1 on the first time of asking. Early in the going, though, the big mover was Luca Mars from 5th on the grid, quickly made his way up to 3rd. Bruno Colombo fighting with Tony Gaples further back. Meanwhile, Chris Wilson, a big mover in the AM class. This was a move to get him up to 2nd place at the time. Tom Kopczynski in the wars today, picking up a position there momentarily, but that's not the last we'll see of that car. Meantime, Wilson through on James Walker Jr. That was for the lead in the AM class at the time. Big slide there from Sam Craven at the top of the hill in turn 1. And Travis fighting his way. No, sorry, that was Riley Dickinson making his way up through the field from the very back of the pack. There's Tom Kopczynski into Roland Grimes. The Grimes-McAleer car behind the wall with suspension damage. Kopczynski was given a penalty for that contact. Then the pits got busy just before 50 minutes had elapsed. Good pit work from the Rafa Racing team to maintain the lead. And this is what brought out the full course yellow. Alex Garcia from the lead of the AM class grinding to a halt. And we're still behind the safety car here at Circuit of the Americas. Field bunched up. Got a couple of crucial penalties, though, that are still to be dealt with once we get back to racing. James Clay, the leader in the AM class, will have 30 seconds additional time in the pit lane coming his way for a pit lane infraction. And, they're not the only car that has picked up such a penalty. Just over an hour in, Cal, your takeaways from what we've seen in the first third of the race plus.
Well, I think certainly this has changed the complexion of this race a little bit. Looking at the clock right now, I think we're about 5 minutes away, Ryan, where you could make a stop and do it on one more to the finish without exceeding those 50-minute driver stint lengths. Time on pit lane does not count, of course, so depending on how much longer this full course yellow goes, if you've got 2 more yellows, you could be looking at drivers piling down pit lane, but I've got a feeling we may be back to green just before that moment.
Others clearly sensing the same thing. We've got drivers with helmets on getting ready to go as we get closer and closer to that window. Getting 2 more stops. Once again, for this 3-hour endurance race, the only one of its kind this year. Maximum stint 50 minutes, maximum driver time accumulated over the course of the race is 100 minutes. And you're not allowed to double stint your drivers. And with all of that, teams will tell you that the rules are pretty tightly written. Not a lot of wiggle room there, but trying to play full course yellows to your advantage certainly is something that that is in play, and there's a little bit of room for the strategists to earn their keep. Just waiting to see what the status of this cleanup might be. We know that one ACI Motorsports car was stopped on the track. I think we have a chance to hear from at least someone from the ACI camp. Amanda, who have you been able to catch up with?
Well, I got both the brothers down here, and Alex, you just brought this, or you're back with us here. What happened?
The car just had a mechanical issue and just kind of killed itself a little bit. It's not really much we could do. It's just kind of a problem we're all fighting. Just it's part of the game. It's just we gotta learn how to deal with it.
I saw you shaking your head. I got over here, and Michael, you were just upset as well. But I feel like you guys are so close and due for that breakthrough. It's coming.
I know. Yeah, it kind of feels like we come here and it looks like a good weekend. We're doing all right. The car looks all right. We feel good, and then there's always something that kind of gets in our way. But that's part of it, like you said, and hopefully we can make that up in the next round. So
we'll see you guys at Sebring. Calvin, how hard is that when you know you got it, but you just can't get through it?
So frustrating, Amanda. You put so much heart and soul into these events, and as we said at the top of the show, this is one that's circled by all of the teams and drivers. It's so important in terms of the championship. Double points on hand here today. They had a really fast race car, had the lead of the race, and then a mechanical gremlin takes it all out of your hand.
Came into the weekend 30 points out of the championship lead in the M class. But despite the fact they had good pace, or leading at the time, they're not going to score strong points here today. Race Control has announced the pits are open. They've also informed us that we anticipate a restart the next time by, so not sure anybody can take advantage of the yellow to dive in.
I think 141 on the board, just doing some quick math here, is the point where you'd be safe to do it and get to the finish on one more stop. So we're going to be a couple of laps shy of that, but we could see some action here pretty quickly because so many teams are going to be close to the lead, and that gives them that big window to make that stop.
Also might get you out of traffic as well to come in early and maybe hope for some clean track to put in fast laps if everybody else isn't thinking the same thing, of course. This is the car that was the early casualty. Roland Kreins and Tom Kopczynski got together. Autotechnic and their BMW got the worst of it. They were behind the wall for a time. Stephen McAleer back out after the repairs were made. That is the spirit of endurance racing. Yes, 3 hours compared to a 10-hour or a 12-hour or a 24-hour, a fraction of some of the really, truly endurance racing events. But by Pirelli GT4 America standards, this is endurance, and the Autotechnic team really embracing what that entails, getting that car fixed.
Yeah, you never know. Just a couple of points here today could play dividends at the end of a long championship season. And it's double points, of course, so any point is vital. And you just never know. There could be a lot of carnage between now and the end of the race. Hopefully not, of course, but from a team's perspective, you don't wish ill will on your competitors, but if they have problems, you hope they're a little bit deeper and longer than the ones you've already endured.
One story we should probably go back to was the start from Riley Dickinson. Remember, he started 28th, got his way up to the fringes of the top 10 overall. It's Erica Hoffman in the car now, center of the screen, at kind of bottom right of the screen, and leaving the shot. She's done well, only lost one position overall here in her stint, and if she can hang that car at roughly that position during her stint, Riley Dickinson will be in the car yet again before it's all said and done. The tough thing is they started Riley, so she's going to have to finish against what you would presume would be the more experienced drivers in the other silver class cars, but you know what? They could still get a decent result today.
They could, and she may be one of the drivers that likes to make that early opportunity to hit pit lane, which now I'm looking at a couple of laps away. I think we're looking about 2 more laps, and that window of opportunity does indeed open.
You could tell we're close to the restart with the vigor displayed by the drivers, weaving back and forth, cleaning off the tires, getting everything prepped for the restart. It's Tyler Gonzalez for the Rafa Racing team in the Supra, blue and orange, coming through turn number 20 and immediately stepping on the loud pedal. Spencer Pumpelly trying to keep with him on this restart. Then it's Kevin Bohm, Mateus Lace, Tyler Gonzalez on timing and scoring slipping down, but he's still at the front. Here they come up the hill to turn 1. Whoa, Gonzalez has to go defensive because Pumpelly is there.
Pumpelly, middle of the road, just trying to time his exit here, trying to do the crossover without being stymied with that Supra being right in his way.
Good restart there from Gonzalez. Pumpelly sticking with him. Kevin Bohm's lost some ground, and he's got his hands full now with the Pro-Am leader, Mateus Laced, closing in. And Laced will want to get going because he's got some company behind, not too far back. Other front runners in the Pro-Am class, including Kevin Bohm, who's trying to get around the lapped car that was started by Kopczynski, but it's the rapid Eric Filgaris now doing the driving.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to give up that position. He's trying to hang tough, but you've got to feel with his experience and knowing that there's championship contenders out there right behind him as Kenton Cook goes off and on, heading through turns 9 and 10.
Yeah, he got stuck in a tough position, compromised a little bit, and now battling with Michael Cooper, Mark Miller there as well, 3 wide at apex. Somehow they all come through on the other side. Michael Cooper, the big winner in all of this, picks up 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, beautiful racecraft there by Michael Cooper. Now he goes defensive there, holding the left-hand lane down this long back straightaway. As we say, it's a bit of a dyno run. It really kind of demonstrates who's got the straightaway speed when you're flat out for about 6/10 of a mile.
Cooper in the Black Dog McLaren, just behind is Kenton Cook, and now joining the fun is Ryan Yardley, the old sparring mate of Riley Dickinson a year ago in Carrera Cup, and he's given this car a good run. It was started by Demir Hott. That is the orange Porsche, fighting side by side now with Mark Miller in the Mercedes.
Wow, Kenton Cook there, that was amazing. Oh, that was a late move down to the inside there by that Supra.
Ryan Eversley, very aggressive there. That was the car that restarted in 11th. He's making up some ground, got around the leader in the AM class, James Clay, with that aggressive move, and both he and Miller able to continue on despite a little side-to-side contact.
Eversley is up on the wheel big time, sliding it really wide there through turn 18, trying to put the pressure on this pack immediately in front of him. Great stuff.
Ryan and Mark know each other well. They've raced against each other over the years, but the battle is well and truly on right now. Across the line, Tyler Gonzalez continues to lead overall by just under half a second over Spencer Pumpelly. Kevin Bohm giving chase, then Laced, Baltas, Cooper, Cook, Yardley, Miller, and Eversley. That's the top 10.
See how this settles in a little bit. Spencer certainly demonstrated he's got great pace here today aboard that Porsche from RS1. Kevin Bohm just trying to keep them right in sight here. Runs 3rd in class, 3rd on the road, of course. He's got the out-of-class car right behind him, Mateus Laced. Seems like we've got a bit of a transponder issue with our leader right now, but he continues to lead, of course, despite not showing up on our timing and scoring page and the graphic you're looking at, which is being fed by that.
Yeah, don't panic. If you're a Rava Racing fan or a fan of Weston Workman and Tyler Gonzalez, now it pops back up to the top, but it might do that from time to time as they work through that potential transponder glitch. Another good restart there from Tyler, able to pull the gap now over Pumpelly, who was really moving just prior to that full course yellow. Curious what Mateus Laced is going to do. He's the leader in Pro-Am, sits 4th in line. Oh, and this is bad news for Auto Technic. Oh, and problems as well for Dome. That's Tomlinson, who has gone for a spin. I do not know if that's related or if these are separate incidents.
Feeling they may be separate. I think one is behind the wall and one is still on the racetrack, but we can get clarification on all of that. Meanwhile, up front, 37 has continued. That's good news. But up front, it looked to me like Pumpelly was really close there to Gonzalez there through the stadium section. Talk about many corners around here being mimicked off Grand Prix circuits around the world. This is Hockenheim over in Germany. Just great arena and amphitheater, really, for the fans to watch these cars up close and personal.
By the way, remember we were scratching our heads about Stephen Cameron Racing and their extra trip down the pit lane. Still don't really have an explanation for that, but unfortunately, it's going to cost them even further. They've just been penalized for speeding in the pit lane and will owe a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, this was moments ago, the spin from Tomlinson. I'm sorry, this was moments ago. Up and over the curb. And around he goes.
Just stay up too much of that curb there. It's quite a heavy one if you eat it up that much. Just you can clip it, but you can't get up on top of it just as much as he did. And suddenly, when there's no tires touching the ground, even a Pirelli P0 can't help you out.
Understand they did a power cycle, did Stephen Cameron Racing, but not entirely clear on why. But that's what caused them to come to the pits. Nevertheless, they are serving the drive-through penalty now, and what had been a fairly promising day seems to be slipping away as we approach the halfway mark. There's the car leaving the pits, having served the drive-throughs. I think they've been through the pits 3 times already.
Yeah, I wonder if because they had a technical issue that was not giving him the information in terms of the pit lane speed limiter at the same time. So they came down pit lane to try and fix something, and then easily got tripped up by maybe being over the minimum speed.
Well, tough outing for them. They'll gather it back up and head on to the next one, whatever that one might be, as mentioned. Not a planned full season effort for Liafouche and Parachon. They've been a good addition to the paddock here this year. So we check in here on this fight at the very front of the field. It's still Gonzalez leading Pompelli and Kevin Boehm, with Mateus laced in the train as well. And again, he leads in class and has a pretty healthy gap over the next car in class. That's Michael Cooper, but that's been slowly disintegrating. The question is, how aggressive does Mateus want to be, knowing he's surrounded by cars that do not affect his class position one bit?
Yeah, and I'm curious to see which of these leaders elects to jump to pit lane here the earliest, because that creates a domino effect. So for someone like Michael Cooper, he's got so much pace, you want to keep him out there, Ray Sorensen would, to maximize his seat time, whereas in some of the silver class cars where you got drivers of equal ability, you've got some options there. You know what I mean? You're not really compromising anything by making that earlier pit stop and giving driver number 2 a little bit less time on this second stint of the race.
It's all part of the strategic thinking that goes into this lone endurance race on the calendar. Good little battle pack forming here. 94 BMW, that's Kenton Cook, who looks vulnerable. Not something we've said much over the last few years, but Ryan Yardley smells blood in the water, and the young Antipodean starting to close in now. That's the bright orange Porsche out of the ACI camp, trying to salvage something in their day after disappointment for 2 of their other cars. That said, he can't focus fully on the attack because here comes Mark Miller in the Mercedes now.
Yeah, and Eversley sitting there about 6-7 tenths back as well. So what a stacked field when you look at the top 10 here and the names that are represented: Miller, Eversley, Yardley, Kenton Cook, Cooper, Baltus, Laced, Boehm, Pompelli, and Gonzalez obviously leading. This is GT4 racing at the highest level.
Yardley's opportunities this year continue to expand. Saw him run at the 24 Hours of Daytona, doing a GT World Challenge America program alongside this in GT4 America. This is a young hot shoe that Porsche has identified as a potential star of the future. He and Tom Sargent are the 2 selected drivers for Porsche Motorsport North America in 2026.
Yeah, and he won that Carrera Cup in terms of sweeping the weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. So that's what got him this championship title over a slender margin over Riley Dickinson by finishing with a flourish. So happy memories here in Austin, Texas.
Young Kiwi on what is an important day on the Antipodean calendar. Australia, New Zealand, and I think Tonga all celebrate Anzac Day on April the 25th. National Day of Remembrance for those that have served in the military. Not sure Ryan's thinking about that right now, but if he could represent New Zealand on the big stage, I'm sure that would be something that would bring a smile to his face given the circumstances.
Absolutely. Super young talent. And, doing a really solid job here, keeping the pressure on Kenton Cook, and you were spot on when you said not very often we say Kenton Cook is vulnerable. But he doesn't seem to have the pace to do anything about the next Pro-Am car, which is Michael Cooper, running 5th overall and 2nd in that Pro-Am division. Last time across the line, Cooper ran a 2:17.1, Kenton at a 2:17.4.
Looks like it might be stabilizing a little bit here for Kenton Cook. Not under as much pressure as he was a couple of laps ago. Go back a season and what Kenton was able to do. Champion in GT World Challenge America Pro, champion in GT4 America Silver, runner-up, very nearly a championship in IMSA, despite the fact he drove for multiple teams, and his season was in doubt a couple of times last year. Just a remarkable season that, for some, they'd be happy if they could have a couple of those accolades sprinkled through an entire resume, but he was able to put it together in one calendar year.
3 different manufacturers as well, right? So, crazy year. These teams and drivers seem pretty equally matched. Seems like Eversley is inching closer to this little battle.
Put a bow on the Stephen Cameron story. Sounds like it could have been an ABS issue that they've been dealing with. Leah Fouge has been in and out of the pits a few more times, but...
Well, that could explain the pit lane speed limiters, because I think they run off the same wheel speed sensor, possibly.
Right. Their race effectively run at this point. Now it's about getting to the finish, logging laps, and getting Jonathan Parrish on some experience. Back to this battle, though. This is for the final step of the podium as they run, approaching the halfway mark. Kenton Cook using all of the prowess at his disposal to hang on and fend off this challenge. Yardley now suddenly looks threatening once again, and these two collectively are starting to leave Miller behind. Wow,
that was
Yardley
nice.
Came from way back and was able to draw alongside at apex and complete the pass.
That was sweet. That's the way to get it done. You got a young driver try to figure out how to make a move. That was beautifully judged by Yardley, controlled that perfectly.
Got Altsman in the pits. Could this be the first domino?
I think so. I think you can stop now and easily do it on one more stop to the finish with a little bit of flexibility as well. So I think when you see one of these leaders make that move, particularly in this silver class, you got 4 of the top 5 cars are silver class cars, and I think that may be the domino effect of one of them elects to make an early stop.
Cook very nearly got that position back. He was alongside Yardley momentarily through the S's, but quickly they sorted themselves out single file. Looks like Yardley's been in the wars, or at least that car has. The right side mirror has been back, and maybe a little bit of bodywork deranged as well, but it's not slowing him down any.
Might help him out down the straightaway.
True.
Less drag. I think cocked sideways there.
Cayman, BMW, Mercedes. Then Ryan Eversley in the Supra from Precision Racing LA. Eversley's got the veteran Tyler McQuarrie hot on his heels. That he's for 10th and 11th overall, just in the background of this shot.
And McQuarrie's got really good pace aboard the 38 Bimmerwell car.
Miller looking threatening there. That Mercedes looked like it was carving the corners well, but as I was about to say it, he ends up wide over the curbs there at the exit.
Yeah, you're just on the absolute limit, and you just ask the car on the tire for a little bit more, and then it suddenly just washes out on you. You stay with the power. You don't want to crack the throttle, but it just means you got to run that bigger radius, and I'll be careful of track limits here. This is always a hot button when we come to this circuit, and here we see Miller hitting pit lane. Now, this could force the hand of some of the others.
Well, and this is a Pro-Am lineup with a bit of a luxury because the performance gap is not huge between Alan Patton and Mark Miller. So you're not losing much pace by making this call. It gets you out of the traffic. You're in your window. You can catch a yellow potentially.
That's the key. Because of the length of the lap, you get this pit stop done, stay on the lead lap, and then if you catch a yellow, suddenly you compress the field and you're in great shape.
Fight starting to brew between one of the Pro-Am front-runners, Michael Cooper, in the McLaren. He has run down Yves Baltas. This is another out of the ACI stable, which has expanded mightily here in 2026. Baltas, another Carrera Cup veteran, holds down position 5 overall. Jimmy Gibre started that car. Michael Cooper would desperately like to get this pass made to start to run down Matthias Leist, if at all possible.
And I think for Michael Cooper, he's just totally at home aboard this McLaren. Runs it in 2 different championships now with a ton of success. So he knows every single ounce of extraction that he needs out of that race car to get that car in the best possible shape. He's got a great teammate in Tony Gaples, who's looking lean and mean these days. Certainly taking this racing very, very seriously on and off the racetrack.
Here is the OGH McLaren into the pits. That was Sam Owen giving way to Sean Gibbons. They're completing their pit stop now. Some interesting accoutrement on the dive plane there. They're the team I mentioned that benefited from the timing of that yellow, kept them on the lead lap overall and in the mix in AM. And don't forget, the AM class leader does have a 30-second penalty coming in the next pit stop. That's for a pit lane infraction the last time on their first stop. Doesn't look like too many are willing to take the plunge just yet. As I say that, though, here comes Spencer Pumpelly. So RS1, they're willing to give it a try. And problems for the AM class entry from Random Vandals. This is the second time on this lap that they have stopped.
This can force your hand a little bit as well. As you think you're going to go yellow, why not dive if you're in that window? So Spencer Pumpelly, he's won the Rolex 24, but he's also won as a strategist, and he can make the calls from the racetrack. When he sees a car in trouble, he could say, we're in our window, boys. Let's pit right now and get Luca behind the wheel.
Now the car has started again. So crisis averted for those that are stuck out on track, at least for the moment, but that is tough news for Judson Holt and Denny Stripling, who had a weekend to remember at Sonoma. They swept the weekend in class and are running inside the top 10 overall in those races. Not so much here. It's been a tougher weekend for them at Circuit of the Americas.
But this strategy can still work for them. Going to be all about the outlap and doing the undercut. How's the tire performance here for young Luca Mars compared to the drives that are staying out on the racetrack? Should easily stay on this lead lap with a 95-second minimum stop time versus 2-minute 15/16s that we're running
Erica
here
Hoffman,
in race conditions.
Pardon, Cal. Erica Hoffman in a moment ago. Mateus Lay stuck in some traffic here. He is on the back of Kevin Boehm. There's Parishon back out just behind that car. They've been working on those ABS issues and sent him back out. But held up these front runners a little bit as they caught them. And now Stripling stuck on track again. That is at pit out. Wow. Whatever the issue has been.
I think if you're the leader, you got to be coming.
Can't take the risk.
You can't take the risk. I mean, it's not going to absolutely ruin your day, but it's certainly going to cost you some track position because the majority of the field hasn't pitted, so they'll be in the same boat as you, but certainly there's a few cars that we've seen hit pit lane.
Yeah, just about all the front runners are seeing the same thing that you are. Looks like maybe Black Dog kept their car out as Stripling gets the car going again, at least for the moment, but you can't count on it making its way around the way that it is stopped now 3 times in less than 2 laps. At least. Those are just the times we've seen and had it reported, but yeah, a flurry of activity down at the pit lane to try and cover in case a stopped car or something else were to bring out that full course yellow.
And again, the more cars that come, it really forces the hand of the leader because the majority of these cars would be within the distance to the leader to stay on that lead lap. And then suddenly, if the safety car goes out there, arrests the leader, everyone stacks up behind you, you're going to lose a ton of positions potentially.
Now, this is 2 whammies back-to-back for Random Vandals. On the one hand, this car has found a safe place to pull off outside of the track, and looks like it'll take no further part, but it looked like for the second time, the positioning of the 98 car in the pit lane was not ideal. Maybe they had to come around the team car, and that forced them to push the car back in the box once more.
Yeah, it looks like it does. So not ideal when you got the team cars sitting together. That happens a lot in terms of races that obviously have pit stops like we're seeing here. So that's all part of the learning curve.
Possibly another pit fire there, it would appear. The Autotechnic BMW gets out just ahead of the Nola Sport Porsche. So that'll be now Seldorf just ahead of Matt Travis.
Yeah, nice pit stop by Auto Technique there, 135.5, so just 5/10 outside. Travis's pit stop was about half a second shy of that, but still in 1 second range, which is, I'd say that's acceptable. You want to tighten up a little bit.
Well, these two need to get moving and quickly because that RS1 car pitted on the previous lap, and Luca Mars is coming with a head of steam built up. There he is, into the shot right away. Now, Travis is not in the same class, so no reason to put up too much of a fight. On the other hand, he needs to go, does Luca Mars, and he senses it. No hesitation, throws it up the inside, and now the next car ahead is a car for class position.
Yeah, and it's going to take you a couple of laps to get those fresh set of Pirelli P0s up to speed in terms of pressure and grip and temperature. So Travis did the wise thing there, didn't fight it, just eased the path for young Lucas to make that move.
Checking in here, Alan Patton. This is the first car really in the sequence, the Dome Mercedes that Mark Miller brought in, remember. And Alan's now been out and has been pushing hard, using that undercut to pick up a little track position. Comes out ahead of Demir Hott, who is now in the car that Ryan Yardley was in most recently. That was the orange Porsche that you saw just a moment ago. Now here we go. Spencer Pumpelly, that should be Luca Mars actually, has caught Francis Seldorf. This is for position. This, it's a pretty significant battle here as things cycle through. And I'll tell you what, Luca Mars is not waiting around.
No, he recognizes this is the time to pounce. While he's got that tire advantage and got that grip advantage. Francis being really protective there through this triple apex there. Luca's going to send it around the outside. Does Francis give him the racing room there on the exit of 18? Yes, he does. Luca's just going to grab that spot whilst he can before Francis gets into a rhythm here.
Great respect between the two of them, and it's not done yet as Seldorf throws it back up the inside down to turn 20, still side by side. The fight continues down the front straight.
And this is what I love about what I'm seeing from Francis Seldorf. He's now developing that confidence to go into these racing battles like this.
We got a car rejoining. That'll be Tony Gaples.
Even pit lane, but he's not going to have tire temperature to fight this one. He's going to have to let them go. Make sure. Oh!
That's what you have to avoid, though. The way the pit exit funnels out into the racing line, and it got into the RS1
Oh, he's
Porsche.
Pulling off the side of the road. I wonder if he's got steering damage.
Now, Gaples certainly with a wounded race car, having just climbed aboard, and unfortunately, you kind of saw that one coming. That battle coming right at the pit exit and the blend line. And
words were literally coming out of my mouth as he did that.
Yes, unfortunately, Tony just didn't seem to see it coming, or perhaps they crowded him a little bit, but in any event, the damage is done for the McLaren. That's a position lost right there as Demir Hott comes by, and I can't imagine that car can continue to run with the bodywork loose like that without race control having something to say about it.
Yeah, well, the key is just going to be forced back at speed down that long straightaway, especially, and that carbon's just going to tear into that Pirelli right front tire. So it's going to be a tough call. Tony's going to certainly feel out here a little bit. Ray Sorensen and the group there at Black Duck Speed Shot will be analyzing the video to see what they can see. And main thing is to keep him safe. You don't want that thing letting go at high speed here.
So Tyler Gonzalez ran about as long as he could in this stint. He's in the pits now, which means Weston Workman will get in. Now we need to see where he cycles out vis-a-vis that Seldorf and Mars battle. Hopefully Luca's car is not too badly wounded from that contact.
This is the pit stop for the 36 car, which is going to be lengthy. They got around 30 seconds to this stop time, so this will be 125 seconds.
Had a pretty sizable lead in class. So I'm curious how much ground they end up losing. We'll have to check on that once things cycle through.
Yeah, I think there were a few cars last time I looked that looked like they would leapfrog over him.
Yes. I don't think more than just a couple. Not too bad, all things considered, with a 30-second penalty. Okay, let's check back in here on how these cars will blend in with the Rafa Racing Supra that was just in the pit lane as well. Seldorf with Mars giving chase, but where is Weston Workman?
Still on pit lane, I think.
Oh, wow, that car, it's still in the pit lane.
Yeah,
So that is a
Major
change for the
issue.
lead. Looks like a problem, yeah.
We'll see what they come out with, but based on the gap that, yeah, 2:08, disaster here.
Oh.
30 seconds plus outside of the minimum stop time. Had to have some kind of issue going on there.
And comes down right behind the team car. Meanwhile, here comes Riley Dickinson with a head full of steam. Makes it 3 wide down into turn 2 and picks off 2 with 1 move. Dickinson, who came from 28th to 11th in something like 25 minutes at the start of this race, now working his way around Tom Kopczynski in a wounded car that was in the wars early on.
Yeah, and for Western Workman, he needs to grab on the Taylor there of Dickinson and follow him through. So we've seen Weston so much momentum right now, but he's in a difficult position with that tardy pit stop. We'll try and get a handle on what happened exactly there for the Rafa Racing team, but they're on the back foot. But the good news is there's a lot of time still on the clock. Could we get a yellow and get a bit of a reset and give them even a better chance to get back to the front? They've certainly got speed here, but this is going to be a tall order to get back to the front after that pit stop.
Now Weston Workman will put his head down and try to charge, but boy, that has to be frustrating in a race that they have controlled in a season where there haven't been too many curveballs thrown their way. We'll see how they can react. The good news is they've got over a traditional Pirelli GT4 America race still to go with 1 hour 18 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, I'm curious whether the engine wouldn't fire or something like that. It's hard to imagine, you know, the actual service on the car taking that much outside the normal. I mean, we're seeing teams with like 10, 15 seconds in hand, and they were 30 seconds outside. So that's an extraordinary amount without having some kind of technical issue.
Tony Caples is back in the pits with that damage. Interestingly, he's been warned for pit lane merge, but just a warning. So race control evidently viewed that situation as being a factor of all 3 cars funneling into that same location at the same time.
Well, for the driver exiting the pits, there's a white line, drivers right as you drive up the hill. They have to stay 4 wheels inside of that. And for drivers on racetrack, you're not allowed to cross that line if there's someone coming out of pit lane. If there's no one there, there's racing going on, they'll turn a bit of a blind eye to it. But obviously, it just all funneled down. I think beyond the end of the white line, that was really almost the apex, wasn't it, when they had that collision there?
Yeah, it looked that way. Tough situation.
Yeah, you're in the heat of the battle. I get it from Tony's perspective. He's trying to get up on the wheel and not lose too much time, but just as they sort of like carved their way over to the apex, he had the front of the end of that McLaren there by a few inches too far up the inside.
Well, the winners in this sequence certainly have been Auto Technic with Francis Seldorf and Kevin Bohm. They now lead in the silver class. Luca Mars, that car seems to be more or less okay. Sits in second place, 1.5 seconds back, but also in Pro-Am. Now it's Matt Travis and Nola Sport leading the way. Sam Craven at BMW right there coming through, giving chase, runs second in class. And Alan Patton, remember they did that undercut strategy, seems to have them in decent stead. He and Mark Miller third in class right now, just ahead of Demir Hott. And Michael Petramalo also quietly having a pretty good day here today.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite for the overall lead in the silver class lead. Up to the overcut that worked well for Auto Technic, thereby keeping that car out 1 extra lap.
Yep, that's true. That did work for them. How about this? Lonnie Unser, right now third in the silver class for Kelly Moss. Haven't talked a whole lot about Lonnie so far this season. She and Ashley Freiberg teaming up for a run at the championship for Kelly Moss. Finishes of 7th and 5th in the first 2 races, but right now under some pressure from Riley Dickinson, but running in podium contention.
Yeah, doing a really nice job. Ashley obviously has a ton more road racing experience than Lonnie does, but comes from that legendary racing family, the Unsers, and her dad, Johnny, I've worked with a lot in the past with Manufacturer Ride and Drive program. Just a gentleman of a guy, good racer himself, and he's really keen to see his young daughter have a good chance here in GT4 competition for 2026.
Penalty for Tyler Stone and Frankie Muniz, unfortunately. That will be a drive-through for a pit lane speed violation. I think they're serving that now. That car down in 21st overall. Speaking of Lonnie Unser, here she is. just lost a couple of spots on this lap to the hard-charging Riley Dickinson and Weston Workman, who's again trying to overcome that long pit stop, whatever the cause may be. And Weston now trying to hook up with Dickinson, follow him up through this field, if not make the pass himself.
Yeah, I think he's just got to get his head down and just stay calm. You got to be pushing hard. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Remember, you got the championship lead coming in. It's still a good points day. It's not a total disaster. Let's see if we can hear from Amanda on exactly what happened with that Rafa Racing team during their last pit stop, Amanda.
Hey guys, yeah, I'm looking at Tyler Gonzalez right now, catching up with what happened on the pit stop. Actually, it was that transponder issue. Pit officials down here made certain that that was fixed before they would let the team back out and released onto track. I just want to give an update down here. A lot of drivers are getting out of these race cars absolutely red, covered in sweat, just maintaining as much rest out here as they can. So Tyler's sitting in a chair right now, cooling off as much as he can.
Wow, that's a big one. We talked about timing and scoring. That was hit or miss, whether that was grabbing this car in terms of the transponder, and the official said that's not going to work. You got to get this fixed, and that cost them an awful amount of time on that pit stop.
Yeah, you feel for him. Not really something generally in the team's control, but timing and scoring does a lot of work helping race control manage these races, so you can understand why that might be a priority. But boy, that is frustrating, and look how much it's cost him now. 34.6 seconds behind the race leader. They were the race leaders prior to that issue in the long pit stop. In the meantime, more battles here. Watching Carl Foreman at the tail end of this train. Carl's down in 16th. He's chasing Rafa Martinez, making his season debut. Anthony Gerasi started that car. Just ahead is Chris Wilson. Chris has gone back to the lead once more in the AM class. Now cuts to the inside of Chris Spada and picks up another overall position, although again not in class. Must have got around Martinez here recently. That was for the lead in AM, and we wondered how much that 30-second penalty would hurt the Bimmerworld guys. Only a couple of spots. They dropped down to third, but they're not out of it.
They're not. They've got plenty of time to play with too, and remember, Chris Wilson has got a little bit more speed than his teammate right now, so I'm not saying it's artificial him being out front. He's going to try and gap the rest of the pack as much as he can before the checkered flag or before the stop where he puts his teammate back in, but certainly you got to feel that the Bimmerworld team is still in with a shout here.
Can't count them out, especially in this race. They've done well in the long-distance GT4 races over the years, whether it's here or going back to when GT4 ran in the Indy 8 Hour. They had some good runs in those races too.
They used to run that event at VIR. Was it the 25-hour VIR with their local track? They used to do that on numerous occasions, so they got plenty of endurance and pit stop experience.
That's a change right there. Seldorf is around, Luca Mars has gotten around Francis
that's
Seldorf.
For the overall lead and the silver class lead.
And I wonder if traffic had a part to play in that. There's a Mercedes that's not part of this battle just ahead. Or at least I didn't think it was part of this battle. That's
Miller.
Yeah. Well,
Miller's car.
Mars to the inside takes that position away at the end of the back straight. What is Mark Miller doing? No, it can't be, because Alan Patton is in, so it must be the sister car.
It's got to be Colleen.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's Colleen.
Colleen. Yeah, K-I-L,
K-I-L,
not M-I-L.
M-I-L, yeah.
That explains that. Well, Mars is able to dispatch Alvetti, unlike his rival there in Seldorf. Now, what I'm going to be interested in, now that the positions are swapped around, remember we saw the BMW get stronger at the end of the stint last time. Do we start to see that trend continue? Will Seldorf close in? Well, he's going to have to get around this traffic here first, and that's proven to be more difficult than he would have liked.
Yeah, Eddie Colleen is not giving it up. He's actually done a really nice job. Got great pace right now as we see a move there with Weston getting inside Dickinson. So forget about following him through this pack. He's got around him here. And that is for position in the silver class. That is now up to P3 for Weston Workman, but he's got a lot of work to do. He's some 30+ seconds back of that silver class lead right now, held by Luca Mars.
That's a feather in the cap for Weston Workman to get around Riley Dickinson, who is as good as it gets in a Porsche here in North America. But it does seem like the Supra's pretty well hooked up. Weston dips the right rear in the dust and kicked him sideways momentarily, but look at him start to build that gap now that he's clear.
Yeah, now this is going to be interesting to see how the two cars stack up here on this long 3.4-mile circuit. Supra's been really, really in its sweet spot here. That circuit, the Americas winning last year for Rafa Racing with Gonzalez.
Toyota versus Porsche in this long drag strip of a back straightaway. Workman really aggressive there on the brakes. That platform maybe doesn't look as stable as the Porsche for Dickinson, but
moves
the
around a little
there.
bit, doesn't it? I think that Supra is one of those cars that's a little bit edgier compared to some of the other manufacturers out there, but it certainly has great speed.
It's something they've worked on with the successive Evo kits for the Supra. They're under their second one now. This one debuted last year, but as they've continued to upgrade the car, the Supra's always been fast with an experienced driver behind the wheel, but making it a platform that a less experienced driver, a gentleman driver, is comfortable extracting pace from. That's been the order of the day, and they've certainly gotten better in that regard, made some progress with each Evo kit. It's becoming a popular platform globally as a result.
Yeah, you see Weston's car really dancing with him as he's entering some of these corners. He's got that car right on edge. Knows he's got a lot of work to do unless he sees a yellow here before the checkered flag, and his teammates obviously going to be in at the car at that point of the race, but just trying to minimize the work that Tyler Gonzalez is going to have to do if he's attempting to sweep 2 consecutive victories in this endurance race here at COTA for Tyler Gonzalez.
How about this drive from Matt Travis? He is not the pro in this Pro-Am lineup. We like to call him the world's fastest accountant. Mentioned earlier that others within the paddock view him as the gold standard for the fastest driver in the series, especially in the Cayman, where he's been so strong over the years, and he is right there matching the front runner's pace. Luca Mars and Francis Seldorf, and then Matt Travis holding his own.
Yeah, he does a great job. Great personality. I was loved hearing his quips at the end of another great race day. But a couple of championships, he and Jason Hart. Took them a while to break through, but then they just went on a bit of a tear.
And they always just loved it when we would bring this up about how close they came in successive seasons. Championships that went down to the wire but didn't go their way, but eventually they did get it squared away. And once they started winning, they kept on winning by and large. This is for second place in the AM class is Rafa Martinez, trying to fend off the recovering James Walker Jr. after that 30-second penalty on the last pit stop.
Again, there you can see the Supra's got pretty good straightaway speed. Seems to have that little edge over the BMW. We certainly saw that. Had the edge over the Porsche when we saw Dickinson and Weston Workman going down that long back straightaway as well.
Martinez feeling that pressure. Able to control the speed, position that car in such a way that it's not easy for Walker to pull alongside, just behind the delayed car of Parashon, closing in at a decent rate of speed as well. This is a battle, though, that Walker will want to get resolved quickly, if at all possible, as they, again, try to overcome the penalty on the last stop.
Yeah, Martinez is the Rafa in Rafa Racing, so he's really invested a lot with the resources and the great people he's brought together. Kevin Conway's kind of the overall general manager there of that group. I'm not sure of his exact title, excuse me, Kevin, but I know you're leading the charge there and put a lot of great people in place to have the success that you're achieving here. The team that is rapidly expanding. The team have their footprint growing every single year.
I have him in my notes as the team manager, but I suspect that might have elevated somewhat since I first entered that many years ago. He's held that role since 2021, back in the Smooch Racing days, and then transitioning into this new era as Rafa Racing. And it is the eponymous Rafa Martinez. We're watching right here, fending off James Travis Walker Jr. This is the best I've seen Rafa drive. Really big opportunity for him to showcase what he's all about, and he knows this track really, really well. This is where he first started doing track days, getting track experience. A little bit wide there. Maybe this is the moment here for Walker.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many track days he does here. I know he's got a condominium or a garage / condominium, just not on the track premises, but just across the street here. See Parachon down to the inside trying to clear this battle that's raging right in front of him. Obviously that car is a little bit down the order based on the issues they've had.
Yeah, very much delayed. Walker saw him coming and decided, no, this is not the time to get stuck in with that. Maybe now there's an opportunity to follow the Stephen Cameron Racing car through. Parachon is just about by. Walker's there in the slipstream, trying to draw alongside the Supra. He does, carries a lot of speed through Apex, lets it drift out wide, and the move is made.
Yeah, that was really nicely done. I think his family and friends who are here in attendance will like how he timed that one. Beautiful racecraft there, recognizing the opportunity with the fellow BMW to kind of give him a bit of a draft and lead him to that inside lane down into the brake zone for turn 12.
It's a hot evening here in Austin, Texas. 88 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. That has really not come down at all, even as the sun has started to sink lower in the horizon. Humidity still well above 50%, making it feel all the more oppressively hot. And that's taking its toll on man and machine here over the course of this 3-hour Lone Star Enduro. We've got just over an hour to go in the 3-hour race. Checkered flag scheduled for 8 o'clock, just 5 minutes before sunset. So we're going to start to see the track evolve. The shadows grow long in the next 63 minutes.
Yeah, and that window to get to the finish opens up at about 51.5 minutes on the clock. So you can come in, do that minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds and not exceed the 50-minute driver stint length. And that is not when you cross the checkered, the start-finish line, is when the 3 hours is up. So that makes it a little bit simpler math for the strategists up and down.
Now time for Sam Craven to work a little bit of traffic. Eddie Killeen just ahead.
Colleen's doing a nice job.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't have the experience of a lot of the drivers that he's around, but seems to be driving some really good lines and rolling some good speed here.
He's from Buffalo, New York. Spent some time in Canada as well. Put this team together last year ahead of the season with a lot of crew members that he's worked with and driven with in previous stops along the way. Comes into the weekend third in points in the AM class. Drove with Laura Hayes, who's been very fast in limited opportunities in Pirelli GT4 America over the years. Not here this weekend. Can't wait to have you back, Laura, but happy to have Ron Tomlinson making his series debut this weekend.
Luke Mars, gap at the front is 1.49 seconds over Francis Seldorf. Travis sits about 2.5, 3 seconds back of that lead duo.
Craven now does get to the inside of Eddie Killeen. This now lets Craven get clear of the traffic, and now he can set his sights on the next car in the class, which happens to be the leader, Matt Travis. But Cal, that move has been a few laps in the making. This was a couple of laps ago. And as you pointed out, Killeen's had some good pace. Ooh, that was a little too close that time, but not making it easy there for the front runners to come through.
No, and Craven obviously coming off that great win at Sonoma. Sits P2 in class right now, but he'd like to get a little bit further down the road. Travis has about an 11-second gap on him right now, sitting in P2, so really another strong day, but they want more with these double points on hand here today. Could be a 50 points day if you get the victory versus 36 for second. That's a huge delta to think about.
Massive, because it is the only single race weekend of the season, the only endurance race on the calendar. Double points on offer. We talked about it at the Open. This race is equal parts opportunity and peril, depending on the way it plays out as far as your championship battle is concerned. Well, Bruno Colombo is out in car 98 right now. His co-driver Josh Green has been in the hot cockpit for a considerable amount of time already, Amanda. What can you tell us catching up with Josh?
I'm doing this interview saying that he is cleared by medical is why I'm on the ground down here. He said, get down here and talk to me. He's getting back in this BMW. Josh, what was going on out there? I know I saw you do the driver change, and that just looked excruciating for you. When did it hit you?
Well, it hit me about halfway through. I woke up this morning with a fever already. The cool shirt failed. It was like 106 plus degrees, and felt like the AC wasn't working, but that's probably a byproduct. So yeah, no, the driver change was a little rough. I was kind of losing it, and then luckily the awesome medical team here came and helped me. But no, our race car was really wicked. This Imperium number 98, Mercedes, what am I saying? BMW M4 GT4 Evo was fantastic. Random Vandals gave us an awesome car. I can't thank them enough, and second fastest lap of the race. Can't be too pissed with that.
I started sitting down here, it's like, yeah, my car's so fast. You race car drivers, it never really gets out of you.
No, of course not. It doesn't matter if I'm dying. I'm still going to go out there and do a 16.5 if I can, right?
Well, you're not today.
I'm not today, and I'm getting back in that race car.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
And I may want to tell them that race control, in terms of giving them the all clear, you've got to identify what brand you're driving.
Right.
It's one of the first clues that you're good to go.
Yeah. He might feel like he's in a fever dream right now. Hard to imagine driving under these conditions in the best of circumstances. And if you're under the weather, if you're running a fever, boy, that has to be really rough. But speaks to his perseverance and determination. He's keen to get back aboard.
Yeah, and that's why you need to be super fit. So even under good conditions, you're good to go and can maximize, but it also pays dividends when you are feeling a little bit under the weather.
Weston Workman, Riley Dickinson. Weston got around a couple of laps back, but Riley has stayed with him and now is making designs on getting back around. 7th and 8th overall. Riley pops out of line late on the brakes. Weston sees him coming and lets him play on through. Now, can he get the run down the backstretch? That's where the Supra's been strong, and he does pull alongside once again.
Yeah, he does. Let's see how this pans out as we get deeper down this straightaway towards that brake zone. It's pretty even right there.
Well, Workman in the Supra will have the preferred line down to this tight corner, tight left-hander. Pulls it down to apex and gets the spot right back from Riley. The trouble is, this is costing them lap time, and both of these cars really need to get their heads down if they're going to catch the top two. Perhaps at this stage, the only hope is a full course yellow bunching the field back together, but in any event, the fact that they're losing ground fighting amongst themselves is not helping the cause.
Yeah, I think since we had that caution when the 68 car obviously had the issue with the transponder on pit lane, and when they got back on the racetrack, back up at Green Flag Racing, they've lost about 4 seconds to the leader. So, yeah, I think you're right. This battle is certainly compromising their pace a little bit, but it also displays that the guys up front have excellent race cars underneath them, led by Luca Mars, and Francis Seldorf is keeping him honest, just 2 seconds back.
Heard from Weston at the top of the show. This is the longest professional race of his career. He has done a WRL race longer than this, but was quick to say, yeah, that really is nothing compared to trying to compete at this level. Car started on pole, as he did in race 1 of the season back at Sonoma last month. Swept the weekend there, did Gonzalez and Workman. Coming into the weekend, a 14-point advantage. But this one went away with the transponder issue, at least for the moment. Still a chance to claw back in if circumstances align.
Yeah, and that 14-point swing is exactly what you're looking at between first and second in terms of finishing here today. So we'll have to see how the chips fall during the last 56 minutes of this race. We're within about 5 minutes now of making that pit stop and getting to the finish with the time on pit lane, and then the 50-minute maximum stint length. A little bit easier to work that one out when it's to that dedicated 3-hour mark in terms of when you hit pit lane. Don't have to worry about being just on the wrong side of that timeline of getting that last lap in to maximize your 50 minutes.
Got an update that there might be something broken at the back of Weston Workman's car. Brian Bonner, who does a lot of work with a number of drivers in the paddock, sending me that note. So next time I get a look at it, see if we can dial in on that. And that might explain why all of a sudden we're seeing more pace out of Dickinson, who has come by See anything flapping around at the back?
Not from that shot, but I know the car's certainly been dancing around on him under braking and certainly on the entry at turn 19, but he's been wringing the car's neck trying to find every ounce of speed, so sometimes when he's sliding the car around, like right there, he uses that little bit of curb.
Now, whatever the case, whatever the cause, without a question, it does seem like the handling is suffering somewhat deeper into the stint.
I think those boys are going to need some help with the caution here to get back in the game for a win, but still a strong points day.
Second time Weston's raced here already this year. He was here with IMSA when they were supporting NASCAR earlier this season. He's perfect in that championship as he is here.
Yeah, it's been quite the season that he's putting together on the back of a championship year in GR Cup in 2025.
Gotta feel this is one of the stars of the future, and Toyota has done so much to promote from within, identify talent, give them opportunities. The last 3 GR Cup champions have had chances racing in this series. Tyler Gonzalez has been a mainstay of that program. He was paired up with Gresham Wagner, the GR Cup champion of a couple of years ago, and then this year, the newly minted champion Workman has come up alongside Gonzalez.
It's great that they've embedded those guys in Mooresville at the Toyota Performance Center. Jackson Bell is also one of those drivers on part of this young driver development program for Toyota and TRD. So just great to see them invest in this young talent, giving them every tool. And as Weston said earlier, he really respects everyone that's working with him there back at the shop and at the center to get the maximum performance out of him as a driver and as an athlete, of course.
How about this? Carl Foreman just made his way around Bruno Colombo. That's a photo car around a silver car. Bruno, still pretty new to GT4 racing, has never raced here before. But Carl, only in his second year of racing full stop, did a season of GR Cup last year, coached by Ryan Eversley. Ryan was telling me earlier today that last year basically told Carl, look, it's not about results, it's about learning, it's about getting experience. And from that, they really feel like he was super well prepared to make the jump up here to Pirelli GT4 America, and had a decent weekend all told at Sonoma. Carl will be the first to say it's not his favorite racetrack, but he loves this place, has since he first set foot on the grounds, and giving this car a really nice ride right now.
Yeah, I've been watching his lap times. He's been super consistent, really doing a great job behind the wheel. He's got a master in terms of a coach with Ryan Eversley, just works diligently to maximize and extract all of the potential out of his teammates over the years. Done such a great job, and boy, can he pedal when he gets behind the wheel himself. So looking forward to what those boys can achieve together over the course of this 26th season. Are hearing news that there is maybe an issue with that 68 car from Amanda down on pit lane. Spoke to Kevin Conway there at Rafa Racing, and there's indeed some kind of technical issue with the suspension system. Not sure exactly what, but something is a little bit amiss, and that is certainly stymieing Workman's pace a little bit.
Are we now in the window where you could pit with time in the pit lane not counting towards the drive time? I think we've got a couple cars in the pits right now, and we might see some others.
Yeah, as long as you don't come out of pit lane with more than 50 minutes on the board, and you're supposed to be on pit lane 95 seconds. So at this point forward, like Luca could come in right now and he'd be good to go with Spencer to finish off this race.
And it would make sense to cover against a full course yellow to come in at the first opportunity, right?
Yeah, for sure. And it's really predicated by some of the other leaders making that stop and staying on the lead lap. If everyone's out there, you can continue to run, but you certainly don't want to caught out, and that's the call they're making right now.
Yeah, RS1 acting preemptively here, not going to mess around. We got an extra buddy going over the wall there in the belt. Little unicorn action. Well, the unicorn in the race tomorrow in GT World Challenge America. Sparkly BMW. Got that to look forward to on Sunday. But now, this is serious business in the pit lane. One final pit stop, and RS1 needs to get the job done right because they're pitting from the overall lead of the race.
Yeah, Spencer's up and ready to go. Quick fist pump with his mechanics to get the service done correctly. Be right on the number. Then you're going to look at the undercut here with young Luca coming in at least a lap earlier than Seldorf. Keys for auto technique. How far do they want to be in that danger zone? If Seldorf is in a rhythm and doesn't have any traffic, they may elect to keep him out there a lap or two, but deeper and deeper you go, you can only fumble over the strategy there if there is a safety car.
Quite a few other front runners are in from the Pro-Am class. Craven is in. Workman is in the pits now as well, getting him out of that traffic. Dickinson likely to stay in quite a bit longer and to utilize his pace. But busy pit lane here as the Rafa Racing team will go to work.
They have a chance to look at that suspension, see if there's any damage they can at least evaluate and give some feedback to the driver. Not much time to play with. You probably got about 15 seconds extra time outside of the normal routine for tire and refueling.
What kind of information would you want as Tyler Gonzalez, who's about to get into that car from Weston, so you can anticipate how the car will handle once you pull out of the pits?
Well, I'm sure Weston was on the radio reporting to the team. He'll be standing right alongside Tyler when he's standing on the pit box there and just saying, this is what he's saying about the race car. This is what it's doing around the circuit. Not sure if they can make any adjustments whatsoever to try and minimize that handling imbalance that he may be experiencing right now.
Well, the service is complete, so now they just wait to make sure they get out of the pit lane in as close to 95 seconds as possible without going under. Car is released, and it will be Tyler Gonzalez to take the car to the checkered flag. This is the car that dominated the first half of the race, but a transponder issue led to a lengthy pit stop in the last sequence. Spent an extended period on the pit lane, and they've been in recovery mode ever since.
Very equal pit stops there for RS1 and for the Rafa Racing team, both 6 or 7 tenths outside the minimums stop time, so no penalties are going to be coming their way. Now it's all about, do we go green to the finish here, or do we see a yellow that compresses this field and gives Gonzalez even a shot at the victory, despite the car maybe being a little wounded?
Auto Technic only went 1 lap longer, so Seldorf is in the pits now. He'll be giving over to Kevin Bohm to take it to the finish, and we'll have to see where they blend out after their service vis-a-vis the RS1 Porsche. They were the two battling at the front just prior to this pit stop sequence. This is Matt Travis out of the car. Mateus Lace, the Brazilian with IndyCar experience here at this track. He's now buckling in for his run to the checkered flag.
An Evel Knievel inspired helmet livery there on Matt Travis. I'm sure there's a story behind that, which I'm unaware of.
With Matt, there's always a story.
Always a story.
I guarantee it. It's probably inspired from a movie somewhere, knowing Matt. All right, here comes Spencer Pumpelly now, and we'll see where he blends out relative to the BMW. That is the BMW bottom right of the screen coming out of the pits. It's the Porsche coming down the pit straight that we're comparing to. Beyond the pit speed limiter now. Kevin Bohm picking up the pace, but Spencer Pumpelly has the momentum up the hill for the moment. It looks like Bohm and Auto Technic have the spot, but he's got his hands full to try and hang on.
Yeah, I think where he's going to be vulnerable when we get to the end of the S is when we get through 9 and 10, and Spencer realizes he may need to pants right now without letting Kevin get into a rhythm and get some pressure and temperature into those Pirelli P0s, but he is flying up on him. Got a feeling he may catch him by the time we get to that brake zone for turn 11, possibly.
Awesome stop from the Auto Technic team at a 95.3, just 0.3 of a second over the minimum. Pretty great execution, all things considered. But now it's down to the drivers on track. Kevin, a champion a year ago, trying to build some heat in the tires, trying to get himself buckled in for this fight to the finish with Spencer Pumpelly, who's closing in visibly now.
Yeah, this is about the part of the racetrack where I thought he was going to get him right into turn 11, so he's going to try and get a really good clean exit here. He should get better traction right now with that extra tire temp and get a run on the BMW, try and pick up the draft. Let's see if Bohm has to go on the defense here into the brake zone for turn 12.
You could tell that BMW was squirrely when Kevin asked for the power out of the hairpin, but he still was able to get the traction down pretty well. Pumpelly pokes the nose out of line, but he's not close enough to lunge. Kevin Boehm de facto leading this race as we wait for the pit sequence to cycle through, but Pumpelly is there. Now the lunge to the inside, but Boehm cuts across the bow.
He does. Pumpelly knows he's got the extra grip right now, but that's going to be minimized every corner that they run through here. Looks to the inside, pushes it into the inside for 15. Bold move. Cuts the corner, and Boehm's going to get a launch. He's going to hold the inside as they climb up the hill into 16, 17, 18, the triple apexer. Pumpelly's going to try the long way around. I think Kevin's just going to wash this car out and not give him the lane.
Spencer might know this is the best chance. He's going to get it again. Boehm just barely with enough room to cut across the nose of the Porsche to hang on to the spot again. This is de facto the battle for the lead of the race once the pit sequence cycles on through.
I love that racing by Kevin Boehm there. I don't think he'd have been driving like that a year or so ago. I think he's really learned a lot during that championship season with Kenton Cook. He's willing to get his elbows out now and defend that race position. It's not for the lead right now, but it should assume the lead once everyone hits their pit stop cycle.
What a year ago for Kevin Boehm. 7 wins, 10 podium finishes, and a championship, a long-awaited championship in Pirelli GT4 America. But it's a new team for him here this year, sliding over for Random Vandals to Auto Technic in a deal that, as we chronicled, took to the 11th hour to come together. Now trying to deliver a victory for the first time in his new home, but it's going to come hard-won if he's going to get it at all. Spencer Pumpelly is right there, and he can see victory as well.
He's trying to position that car, but he's just about a quarter of a car length too far back to make it stick. So he's probing. Doesn't want to make that critical error where he has contact and maybe turns that race car and gets a penalty, so he's got to keep it clean. Critical moment in this race.
This is another step in the career of Kevin Boehm. For many years, while he was paired with Kenton Cook, it was Kenton that often would get these stints at the end of the race. Kevin would set the table. Now he has to try and finish the job. Easier said than done. Pumpelly with a head of steam down the back straightaway. This time he's got the position to the inside.
Kevin's not giving it up.
No.
He runs the cushion there. He's off the road a little bit, just trying to keep it to the inside. Hard-nosed racing here at the front of the Silver Class pack.
Oh, Boehm fighting back, but now the track comes back the way of Spencer Pumpelly. This is a great section for this style of racing. We've seen Boehm hang around the outside before through this corner, but that time Pumpelly had the edge, he had the track position, now he's got the lead.
Team is pumped up. Spencer finally makes it stick. I think Kevin needed to give up a little bit earlier there in 15. It's hard to make it stick around the outside of the speed of the car in front of you right now. He's still got really, really good rubber on board, but Kevin is not giving up the chase. He's back on the attack.
No, we know that BMW can be quick in a straight line. Needs to get a great jump here out of turn 20 to try and challenge to take the lead back. For the moment, it's the de facto lead of the race. Let's not lose sight of that. Riley Dickinson leads, but owes a pit stop. Second overall is Chris Wilson, but he too needs to make a run to the pit lane here before it's all said and done.
This track is starting to cool down, Ryan. It's about 10-15 degrees track temperature cooler than we started this race with, so it's going to give you even more grip here in the final flourish to the finish.
Here's the early front runners in the AM class now. James Walker Jr., James Clay, making their final pit stop of the day. Had a penalty early in the race, which dropped them out of contention in the AM class, or so it appeared at the time, but they've clawed their way back into the mix.
BMW looks good. I think the BMW's handling looks a little bit stronger than Spencer's Porsche right now. Seems like Spencer's having to slide that car a little bit to maintain that track position.
Now these two continue to fight for what will effectively be the lead of the race. Once this car pits, it's Riley Dickinson, who not so terribly long ago started this late race dead last. He wasn't even supposed to be in this race, Calvin, but a qualifying crash for the scheduled driver Jack Perriott, who was not deemed ready to race, meant they had to go to a backup chassis, started at the back, from 28th, they now lead this race, but still owe a pit stop.
They do, and that pit stop is going to have to happen on the next lap, otherwise he's going to be outside. I don't think he can do 2 more laps without being outside the 50-minute stint time, so he's going to hit pit lane on this next lap, but he's going to wring the neck of this Porsche, use every ounce of rubber up on that car before turning it over to his teammate to try and do something with to the finish.
It'll be Erica Hoffman to take it the rest of the way. Should spare a moment to say hope for a quick recovery to Jack Perriott, who was scheduled to drive the car. Understand he was checked and released by medical here at the track, but not given the okay to race here today. The Kelly Moss team had to scramble to put this together with some help from NOLA Sport, which explains the unique livery on the car. And Dickinson making the most of it right now. Meanwhile, here's Chris Wilson, another car that needs to pit.
He's got a bit more time, though. He can go about another 10 minutes, Ryan, so he can stay out there about 4 more laps. They're a little bit on a different strategy to the 73 car that leads overall right now.
And they've been on an alternate strategy since the start. We talked about it earlier, the fact that they started their more experienced driver in the M class. You can do that if you nominate that driver as driver 1. That option's not available this year for Pro-Am lineups. You must start the AM in the Pro-Am. This strategy leaves them vulnerable perhaps to a yellow, depending on where the cars in the class are on the lead lap. But it's been working well for them. They've got some track position, and Zach Lumsden will try and take it home to seal the victory.
Yeah, they're just trying to maximize Chris Wilson's drive time because he's got stellar pace here today aboard that BMW.
He's been great since the drop of the green. Drove that car to the lead in class and ran there for a good chunk of the opening stints. Still technically 3rd and 4th, but once the final stops are made, this will be 1st and 2nds. Pirelli and Bohm, Porsche and BMW.
Spencer's just gapped Kevin by a couple of car lengths here, and that just gives him a little bit more freedom to hit his marks on the entry to some of these sweeping corners without having to worry about Kevin diving down the inside. He's recognized that Kevin has not given up in this chase for the potential win here today. And so that means you're going to try and protect through some of these corners, particularly here through the stadium section where he eventually got that lead away from Kevin Boehm.
As you expected, Cal, Riley Dickinson to the pits, and Kelly Moss will go to work once again for the final time today. Last driver change, tire change, and refueling.
What a story. From being in the fence in that qualifying session, causing a red flag, switching to a different chassis and leading this motor race.
Well, and if you believe in karma, remember it was NOLA Sport that answered the bell and helped provide this chassis to Kelly Moss, and NOLA Sport currently leads in Pro-Am with Matthias Laced.
I think they're probably going to come out in around about 4th position, I think. I think they should be between Gonzalez and Freiberg.
That is effectively now Pompelli up to 2nd because Wilson still owes the stop. Waiting on the tear-off, it looks like, or just cleaning the windscreen with the extra time still available. It'll be Erica Hoffman here for the final 37.5 minutes. .37.5 minutes still to go. Luca Mars was certainly one of the stars of the first 2.5 hours, Amanda. What does he have to say?
Well, I'll pass along those words. The guy just said you were one of the stars of the first 2.5 hours out here and absolutely exhausted. You said that you were completely right, but it wasn't an easy journey for you guys. What was going on pit lane and out on track?
Yeah, I mean, I had great battles out there. The RS1 guy and the Porsche guys, they gave me an absolutely incredible car. Francis, he had an incredible battle with me. It was just, I had some contact with a lap car that pulled up an error on my dash, and for me to acknowledge the error, turn my traction control on, which would slow me down. And when I came into pit, when I tried to get down the pit speed limiter, the air didn't let me do that. So I had to fiddle with that down pit lane, and we lost a lot of time. I forgot to loosen the belts because I was dealing with that. I got out. I got stuck in the car. It was a whole debacle, but I mean, I was able to get Spencer out there. We lost a little bit of the gap I had, but he's leading right now. He's killing it out there. So hopefully, I think he can hold on for these last 35 minutes.
You guys were talking at the beginning of the race of just an opportunity to race alongside of Spencer Pumpelly and all of his experience as a veteran racing driver. What have you picked up from him so far?
Yeah, it's great. Me and him are both familiar racing with Justin in RS1, so we both came here. It was nothing new for us. We were used to this, so we were able to work together really well. He obviously has a lot more experience than I do, but he's able to teach me a lot of stuff about this Porsche and just about this series and how to go about things in a different way. It's nice to get this knowledge from guys like Jan and him, all these more experienced drivers.
I won't make you speak anymore.
Oh, thank
Rest.
you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's about as loquacious as I've ever heard Luca. Does he's talking on the racetrack, and he's been quite loud in that regard the last few years. A champion in IMSA's VP Challenge Series 2 years ago, a champion in IMSA's Top GT4 Series a year ago. That was with this RS1 team, as he alluded to. He knows the team well and how they operated, and busy guy as well with multiple campaigns here in 2026 across multiple paddocks.
Yeah, super talented young man, and been fortunate enough to run with a top organization like RS1 with some really experienced fast drivers. Even though they're a little bit later in their careers, they can still hold the pedal wide open, and Spencer's going to try and get the job done for his teammate here today.
Change of position right there. Tyler Gonzalez gets back around the Kelly Moss car that Riley Dickinson was just in. Erica Hoffman on her out lap, and Gonzalez picks up that spot. So up into third right now in silver. It could still be a podium day, and that would be all the more remarkable given the fact that reports have been confirmed that car is wounded. Plus the long pit stop. Look, sometimes a win's just not in the cards for whatever reason, so you have to maximize your day, especially when it's double points like today.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was traffic related, but certainly Tyler's last 2 lap times have been in the 2:18 range compared to Spencer and Kevin Bohm running mid-16, so that's certainly significant. But Kevin Bowman hasn't given up chase. Last lap was their fastest lap of the day at 1:16.5. Unfortunately, Spencer's was a 10th quicker, albeit not their fastest of the day, because they do a fast lap at a 16.1.
Well, that Porsche and Circuit of the Americas, it's been a match made in heaven here this weekend for RS1. Talking to Luca at Sonoma, they felt like we're probably not going to be fighting for the race win there, horses for courses and all of that, but came away with a third and a fourth in those 2 races. Were in the championship conversation after the first round, only 23 points out of the lead. This could be a big day for them to make major headway in the points.
Just looking at the race cars, I would say that Spencer may be dealing with a little bit of oversteer. You can see some countersteer going through some of the corners. You see Kevin seems to be certainly fighting a bit of an understeer through that long triple apexer. 15, 16, 17. So slightly different balance. So it's all about how you guesstimated the track was going to go at the end of the day. Maybe one car picked up more front end grip, one more rear grip, or just accentuating a balance that you already had in the race car by picking up more grip overall.
Just about a lap or so away from this becoming the battle for the lead, not just the de facto battle for the lead. Chris Wilson's been out 47 minutes, 9 seconds, maximum stint 50 minutes, so can't do too much more, but he has set the table nicely for his young teammate. These are going to be some heady laps for Zach Lumsden, with veterans like James Clay and Anthony Girazzi giving chase.
Yeah, going to be thrown right in the mix, but he should certainly have the lead. I think his lead will maybe be around 10 seconds or so, maybe a little bit more. So 95 seconds on pit lane, but that's not the true delta, probably 85. So he should have some change to work with there, maybe 15, 20 seconds to work with if they have a good, efficient stop. I think Wilson can complete this just one more lap, and then he's got to be hitting pit lane. He's within 2 minutes of the maximum drive time as we speak, and this is, oh, this isn't going anywhere. This could be a full course yellow. This could be a real problem for Wilson. However, his drive time would be extended by 5 minutes up to 55 minutes should we go full course yellow right now.
Right, so you'd avoid the penalty, but...
yeah, he needs to get in pit lane.
Correct.
Get back out.
Because...
get pit lane, Chris.
I don't know that he's going to get the chance. Full course yellow. This is the risky run.
Wow.
Running long like we talked about. I think it will cost him only 2 positions, though, as there are only 2 cars in their class, but boy, if this had stayed green, they were in a position where they could have fought for it.
I think he had the opportunity. He's just got to get that left front wheel over the dash line there on pit entry to be committed. I think the stewards almost waited for him to make that decision. He wasn't going to come when they threw the yellow. Not sure if they're digging that deep in, but normally they try and protect the leader a little bit unless the car's in a super dangerous position. They have to go yellow immediately. So I think there may have been opportunity for that team there to get into pit lane.
Well, we'll let them try and sort that out, but that certainly was not what the Colorado Motorsports with Flying Lizard team was hoping for in terms of the timing of that yellow. There's the car behind the safety car. What this does do, though, is it eliminates a minute-plus deficit for Tyler Gonzalez. So if there's any speed left in that car, if he can get through the Pro-Am runners, and there's a lot of them,
Yeah,
he'd have to get through 4 of them.
Yeah, and some really quick cars like Yardley, Miller, Kenton Cook, Matthias Lace. So they're going to be in a battle of their own. So they're not exactly going to be saying after you, Tyler.
No, but maybe that gives him a chance to fight for something. It certainly makes this a compelling battle in Pro-Am. Matthias Lace had, what, a 12-second lead over Kenton Cook. That's now gone. Mark Miller had a 23-second deficit to Kenton Cook. That's now gone. And Ryan Yardley sees another 20-second deficit taken away by this full course yellow. So that should make things interesting. Well, certainly Riley Dickinson was one of the stories of the day, Amanda, from last to first, and now a chance to talk with you.
I was just talking to Riley just about his day and just the craziness of what happened. I think we got up to 18 positions. I was just talking to you about it. You said it was a lot. How do you summarize this day for yourself?
Yeah, it was a bit crazy to say the least. I can't thank everyone at Kelly Moss enough for the opportunity. Obviously, it's been unfortunate what happened to Jack Perriott in qualifying, but not what I was expecting at all today. And hopefully Erica is able to hold him off here at the end. I think the full course yellow wasn't exactly what we wanted, but the first couple laps was pretty fun.
You left it all out there today, but you're not done.
No, we're not done. We still got 3 more hours tomorrow. So, should be good. Of course, I'm with Todd Perriott in the number 13 with Kelly Moss tomorrow. And, it's definitely a bit of a new challenge for me. And, I guess it's a bit nice to go back to something a bit more familiar. But, looking forward to tomorrow. It should be a lot of fun. I think, obviously, there's a bit of strategy that's going to play out tomorrow in the race. And cool to see so many fans here as well. It's going to be a good one tomorrow.
With an honest answer, how exhausted are you right now?
After the first stint, I was pretty exhausted. I forgot to turn on the AC, which that was a rookie move. And, had to go jump in the cold plunge after stint 1, got back in it for stint 2 after about 25 minutes, and all good.
I imagine all these drivers are going to be sleeping here good tonight, guys.
Yeah, and really a precursor for the 3-hour event tomorrow is going to be in the heat of the afternoon versus it cooling down a little bit for the finish. So those drivers are going to be really up against it, including Riley, who's going to be pulling double duty here this weekend now on the back of this GT4 event that he did not have scheduled.
What can you do to manage the exertion after day 1, knowing you've got another grueling 3-hour race in the heat? Is it the heat, trying to manage the core temperature? Is that really the main thing you would focus on?
Yeah, a lot of it comes during the week, just really preparing your body well with the foods and the nutrition that you're putting through your system leading up to the race day, and then just staying hydrated. It's so hard to do, but you just got to stay hydrated in between. If you can get that core temperature down, like with an ice plunge, obviously that's nice to have that availability here in the paddock.
Pits open, and because of the drive time rules, there's no doubt about this. Chris Wilson had to come here. He forfeits the lead of the race, and he'll forfeit at least 2 spots in the M Class 2 when it all cycles through. I suspect they'll do the driver change and get Zach Lumsden in for the last bit of this race. Really tough timing for them. Strategy had been working up until the point where it wasn't anymore.
Yeah, I'll be curious to know if there was the opposite. It was really close, right? So he was coming through turn 19 there. It went yellow, and I wasn't sure if there was enough time for him to get back over. I think the race director, if he was watching where the overall leader of this race, the class leader, was, they'd have probably given them that opportunity. But once he stayed driver's right, maybe that was the call. Go yellow now.
Well, in any event, it's been a starring drive from Chris, who's not a spring chicken, I think it's safe to say, but still as quick as ever, as we've seen, and brings a lot to this program and to the father and son, Zach and Craig Lumsden. We saw Craig earlier today, the dad in the dad and lad pairing, racing by himself in GT America. Now his son Zach here in GT4 America. Both of them coached for a while now by Chris, and they're really taking big strides forward.
Yeah, really are. It's an exciting program for them. They got a great organization with Flying Lizard Group. There's so much talent and experience on that pit wall to steer them in the right direction. I thought I saw a bit of body language. Could have just been he's exhausted after the 2 stints he's done. But when he got out of the car, it looked like a little bit of, you know, oh boy, that just went upside down on us in a hurry there with the timing of that yellow.
It did, but I think the saving grace is the fact that there were only 2 other cars on their lap within their class, and so they're still going to come out in 3rd, it would appear. The next car is Ron Tomlinson in the AM entry from Dome, and they've only done 61 laps, whereas Wilson and Lumsden have done 62. So at least the pace of Wilson there kept them in a position where the damage was mitigated somewhat.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ryan. So still a potential to spray some champagne here tonight, which is what it's all about. There's a big difference between 3rd and 4th at the end of the day.
Not just the points, but maybe more important in the moment is the fact you get to stand up on that podium. And look, this is a special place to do it when you think about some of the big names that have raced and been on the podium here over the years.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this has been home to the Grand Prix since 2012. Had the year off with COVID in 2020, but still remains one of the now 3 Grand Prix we have on US soil, of course, with the addition of Las Vegas and Miami, which is actually next week as the Formula One teams get back in action after, what, 4 or 5 week break?
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Probably seems longer to them. That's why we've seen some of those Formula One drivers dabbling in other things. We talked about Max at the Nürburgring, but we should also mention Lance Stroll made his GT3 debut in the GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup season opener a couple of weeks back. That was at Paul Ricard, 6-hour race. That one didn't quite go according to plan for Lance, no fault of his own, it should be noted, but seemed to really enjoy the experience and has talked openly about wanting to do some more endurance racing in the years to come. And he's done some before. He's done Daytona a couple of times, so he's not a stranger to it, but first time racing in GT World Challenge and the GT3 level.
And I think for both of those drivers, they're not having the best of seasons. Max is used to winning races and winning championships, and obviously been well documented that Aston Martin Racing is struggling a bit with this new era of Formula One cars. So I think for both those drivers, nice to be in a car where, you know, you're basically got the same pace as everyone else with the BOP system that we have in with the various brands running in GT3 competition.
And what strikes me is how much fun they all say they're having. That was true of Lance and Max in their recent GT3 outings. But let's go back to the Indy 8-hour the last few years, where we've had Connor Daly, we've had Will Power, we've had Alex Palou, all of whom just reveled in the opportunity to race a GT car. And you'd think, okay, it's clearly a step back in overall performance compared to an Indy car or an F1 car, but these are still thoroughbred race cars, and the smile on their face when they get done with the stint tells everything you need to know.
And I think it's really like a throwback to the era of the Mario Andretti's and the AJ Fords who drove anything and everything, right? So we've become so single-minded in terms of staying in one discipline, and there's obviously a lot of politics involved when there's different brands being represented. But I think it's great to see drivers be diverse and running some of the big endurance races around the globe.
Well, and we heard from Marcus Ericsson when he gave the command to start engines earlier today. Amanda kind of asked him about the Indy 8-hour, and he certainly didn't say no.
Yeah, that'd be a great one. He and his brother ran together at the end of last year, wasn't it?
They did at Sepang in Malaysia, 24-hour series race there. Didn't go particularly well. They had an issue right at the very beginning of the race and kind of were logging laps the whole time, unfortunately, but still enough to whet the appetite. And Indy, of course, the track Marcus knows well, both the oval and the road course. He raced here in the IndyCar, as well as 4 times in Formula One, and he's here watching his brother this weekend. He'll be watching Hampus race in GT World Challenge America tomorrow. Everyone, though, watching the front of the field here on the impending restart. Just over 20 minutes left here in the Lone Star Enduro. Spencer Pumpelly just pried the lead out of Kevin Boehm's clenched fists a few moments ago. And and he's going to have to fight to hang on to it. Matthias Leist has seen his Pro-Am lead completely evaporate. Kenton Cook is there. Mark Miller is there. Reigning Carrera Cup champion Ryan Yardley is there. We've got a battle on our hands in the M class as well. Buckle up. This is going to be fun for the final 21.5 minutes of the Lone Star Enduro. Safety car pulling away.
And don't discount Matthias Leist trying to get around Kevin Boehm here to have a little bit of a buffer back to Kenton Cook. Out of class cars, but you know he's going to be going for it as well.
Field coming through turn 19. Restart zone approaching. Watch Spencer Pumpelly in the RS1 Porsche Cayman. Waiting for the moment to go. Now he steps on it. Boehm trying to keep pace. Matthias Leist for Nola Sport in the white and highlighter yellow car, doing exactly what Calvin forecasted. Right in the slipstream of Kevin Boehm, and he would love to put a buffer between himself and the chasing Kenton Cook, but he's not going to be able to do it, at least not into turn 1.
I think Kevin Boehm recognized that. He did not want that yellow and white Nola machine between he and the overall leader and leader in the silver class right now. He just needs to knuckle down, get back up on the tail of Spencer Pumpelly and put him under pressure, but Spencer's got so much experience. He's been here multiple times. This is not going to phase him in the least with the restart with just 20 minutes to go.
Nah, Spencer's been there, done that. Race winner at the highest levels of sports car racing. Championship caliber driver, gets a great restart and holds the advantage over Kevin Boehm. Now checking in on the battle in M. James Clay got the lead back. Remember, that car was shuffled back by a penalty. They've recovered all the way to the front now. Gerasi, though, is right there too, fighting for the lead in the class.
Kenton Cook to the inside of Matthias Leist, going for the lead in Pro-Am. Gets the job done, elbows out there, Matthias Leist. Leist has to give it up. Now they're side by side, a drag race down the back straightaway.
Here he comes in the BMW to the inside of Matthias Leist. Kenton Cook trying to take yet another win in Pirelli GT4 America. Matthias Leist, though, won't go quietly. Mark Miller watching this with a vested interest in the blue-nosed Mercedes just behind. At the end of the straight, though, nothing Leist could do. Kenton Cook to the lead.
And watch for Yardley there in that bright orange Porsche as well. He's going to try and get involved in this battle as well for those final podium positions, at least, if not more.
Oh yeah, Ryan wants to get into the mix here as well.
Gonzalez trying to fight his way through this Pro-Am pack. We talked about him suddenly being compressed to the overall leaders, but he's got this fierce battle. Pro-Am first through fourth right in front of him, the 68 machine of Tyler Gonzalez.
And a wounded car as well, as we've had Amanda report some suspension issue at the back of that Supra, and he might be vulnerable to the quarry now. Just got a glimpse of that in the background. Not for class position. Tyler will want to get that pass made so he can get up into this scrap. Meanwhile, we have a penalty here to car 24 for incident responsibility. This is the Ashley Freiberg, Lonnie Unser car.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is.
They're having such a strong run.
Sure, I saw that contact, but anyway, costs them dearly.
Here
comes Miller.
Miller alongside Leist here. They battle it out. Can Mark Miller pull a rabbit out of the hat, get to the front? Look at Yardley, a big head of steam in that orange Porsche.
These two raced against each other in Carrera Cup a year ago. Matthias Leist for the Nola Sport team. Yardley for ACI. Gets the call up into GT4 America this year, and he finds the same opposition, but needs to find a way by now to pick up that position.
Good Kenton Cook. It seemed like he didn't have the pace earlier in this race, and suddenly he's found it when he needed it. Maybe the racetrack has come to him a little bit with it cooling off rapidly here in the closing minutes of this race.
Now, there was some talk that the BMWs in particular might be affected by the heat. It's not like it's cooled off a ton, just a couple of degrees ambient, but you don't have the sun beating down on the racetrack like you did when this race started 2 hours and 43 minutes ago. 17 minutes, 20 seconds left in the Lone Star Enduro and Circuit of the Americas. Pumpelly's lead over Boehm is less than half a second. Kenton Cook's lead over Mark Miller in class just over half a second. And James Clay with a bit of a buffer now. He's got a solid advantage in the AM class.
Yeah, and they were teammates together, winning a championship, Kevin Boehm and Kenton Cook. And Kenton Cook saying, go on, Kevin, go chase down Spencer. Don't hold me up here. I just want clean air in front of me. I don't want any compression here where it suddenly gives Miller an opportunity into this tight section.
But a big development here in terms of the chances of Kevin Boehm to get the win. track limits violation, too many times exceeding track limits. It's going to be a 3-second time penalty post-race. Right now, it wouldn't cost them a position in Class Cal, but it makes it very difficult to win this race. You'd have to get around Spencer Pumpelly and pull a gap of 3+ seconds in order to come away with maximum points today.
Yeah, first track limit, no penalty, then a warning on the second one, and the third one gets you that 3 second. He does another one, that's an additional 5, so he's got to really watch out right now, and he's got to try and figure out a solution to this puzzle.
2 cars in the pit lane. One was the Ashley Freiberg drive-through we were aware of. Jensen Altsman also in the pits, as is Werner Neugebauer. To do a little digging to see what the cause of those penalties might be.
Have to think that RS1 has given that information to Spencer Pumpelly. Listen, Kevin Bowman has a 3-second time penalty to serve, so factor that into your equation and your thought process and decision making to the checkered flag here.
It's a really good point. No reason to jeopardize the car with an aggressive defensive move. Worst case scenario, he gets by, you just harry him to the checkered flag, and the result gets adjusted after the race. A lot has changed on the restart, just not for the overall, with Pumpelly continuing to lead, but Mateus Leist has dropped back down the order. Kenton Cook now, as chronicled, up there into the 3rd spot, and the logjam might end up being the top 2. Kenton Cook has run them down, and I think there's plenty of pace in Mark Miller's car, Mateus Leist's car, Ryan Yardley's as well, where this isn't going to be super simple. These guys all could be mixing it up together in terms of pure pace, but of course it's 2 different classes overlapping.
Yeah, Miller was the fastest man on the racetrack last time by a 2:16.9. Compare that to a 2:17.4 for Pumpelly. So Miller's got a ton of pace there in that brightly colored Mercedes in the middle of this gaggle.
Meanwhile, in the AM class, should just make a quick update, there was a buffer between Clay and Girozzi. That's now gone. It's 2 seconds between the top 2 in that class right now, with Zach Lumsden a distant 3rd, but still in line for a podium result if he can keep it between the white lines for the final 14 minutes and change.
Yeah, Lumsden just needs to keep it clean. He's got no problems from behind with other cars in class being on a different lap, of course.
Time running out. If anyone's going to do anything about this RS1 Porsche, which has come through to the front of the pack in the final half of the race. Really, the last third is when they've started to showcase their strength.
Watch Yardley here. Watch the orange car at the back of the pack. We saw him do that monster move earlier in the race. Tucks it to the inside. Can't make the move stick on Lace. Lace has still got really great braking ability at the top of the hill there into turn 1.
Tougher to do when the battle is like for like. It's a couple of Porsches.
Yeah, I mean, that move was on Kenton, right, earlier in this race, BMW versus Porsche, but obviously those 2 drivers and cars are very evenly matched, the 2 Porsches together battling out for that final podium spot.
Leaders in AM catching some of the other classes now. That was James Clay working his way around Erica Hoffman in the car that Riley Dickinson started. This is the car that's trying to chase him down. We gave a call earlier to Rafa Martinez for his strong stints behind the wheel. Anthony Girozzi coming in. Partial schedule this year for this car, but Anthony giving it a nice run. 2nd, but losing ground to Clay.
Yeah, didn't compete at Sonoma, so great to see him back. Not sure how many races he's going to do this year, but he's always one of the top AM competitors. Really nice guy and just loves his racing. Always typically with him, supporting him on a race weekend.
Runner-up in the AM Championship just a year ago. Wow, Mark Miller took a peek, and that forced Kenton Cook to be defensive there. I think Miller knows he might have something for the leader in Pro-Am.
Yeah,
what a result it would be for this Dome team.
Be huge, and he's definitely got a shot at this. That car's got some pace, got a ton of experience. Kenton just really being protective there. Just great racecraft by the Random Vandals machine right there. Just kind of hugging that inside line, knowing that turn 15 is one of those spots on the racetrack where you can be vulnerable. Said it again, Kenton Cook being vulnerable.
Yeah, again, don't get to say that too often. And I'm sure Kenton will tell us, don't get used to the idea.
Yeah.
But to the Dome story, best result in that team's, albeit brief history. They had a couple of runner-up finishes when they ran in the silver class last year, if you recall, at VIR. Eddie Colleen couldn't be there, so they jumped up a class, actually 2 classes technically, and Mark Miller joined by Nate Cicero, second in both of those races, but they've never won.
Ratatouille, they call him, right?
That's right. Linguini, I think, and he always has the Ratatouille guy on his shoulder.
This is close. Miller's really heaping the pressure on Kenton here, and the 2 Porsches are duking it outright, but behind them as well.
Yeah, Miller's got it. I mean, he knows he's got the pace, but he's got to unlock this door first. That is easier said than done. Kenton Cook, a champion a year ago, trying to fend off this challenge from the Michigander. Holland, Michigan is where Mark Miller calls home. Right there in the tire tracks of the BMW.
Boy, does Kenton get through turn 9 well. Look how much he gapped the Mercedes there through there. That BMW is really in its sweet spot. Sometimes that's just down to the gear ratio and the torque of the engine through that particular sector. But either way, that was nice to gain that gap and take the pressure off as they launch down this back straightaway again.
Looks like Pumpelly is starting to leg out in advantage, albeit a slight one. It's 0.3 of a second at the end of Sector 1. Curious what it's going to be here, but certainly not under much pressure. Same cannot be said for Kenton Cook. Miller taking the long way, at least at corner entry, looking to maximize the exit. Kenton Cook trying to cover off any attempt to dive bomb up the inside, manages to do it.
This is really where it gets awkward through this stadium section. There's so many options in terms of lines, but Kenton again has just found something that he can still roll a little bit of speed through 15, so he's not totally at risk here as he comes off the corner with low acceleration, but just really positioned that car exactly where it needs to be to not open up the door. Mateus Laced has escaped. The clutch is a little bit of Yardley, at least momentarily.
Amazing how pliable the Mercedes appears to be relative to the BMW. The sharp lines, tight lines that Mark's able to take, he can put that car seemingly wherever he wants to, but it's not been enough, at least not yet. Kenton Cook going further and further to screen right, making Miller go screen left. Late on the brakes, gets to the flank, but can he keep it there? No, he can't. Kenton Cook again able to parry the thrust.
The other thing we don't know is how many track warnings have been given, track limit warnings have been given to these drivers. Do you have a couple of mulligans where you can really send it and not be running into that zone where you're going to get any sort of time penalty at the end of this race? If you've got 1 or 2 left, now's the time to use them up.
And they're just a little bit wide there. Cost him some ground and brought him back into the clutches of Laced. Whoa, ooh! Kevin Bohm to the inside of Pumpelly. That's for the lead.
Was that?
Wow.
Pumpelly got damaged. That was a big clout.
Or did he have a problem beforehand?
Oh, no.
Miller just picked up a bunch of damage, though, as they all bunched up after that sketchy moment. And now Kevin Bohm appears to be a little bit off the pace as Kenton Cook comes through. Kenton, the big winner in all of this, he's been set free.
He has, so Pumpelly got attacked there. Stewards will look at that one. I didn't see it develop, so I'm not sure if the door was open or not, but certainly there was a big hit. Debris was flying. I'm not sure if Miller drove over something or what happened there, but he certainly got damage on the front end of that Merc.
Oh, that's such a shame. It was in line to be quite the day for the Dome team, and that car, I don't think we'll see the checkered flag. Damage front and rear on the Mercedes. No fault of Mark's own. Everything just bunched up together.
Pretty wild here that the 2 drivers that were teamed together last year on the way to a championship are now running line astern with different class leads here at the end of this 3-hour event.
That's true. Now, these 2 don't need to fight here. In fact, they would both be best served trying to cooperate a bit. They are their respective class leaders, as you rightly say, Cal. No sense squabbling here over a position that pays no difference in points. Let's go back to this moment. I'm really curious at what sparked all of this. The end of it is all we saw with Kevin alongside. He came from quite a ways back.
He had a run on him, so I'm not sure if Spencer had a little slip earlier in the S's, and that made him in that position where Kevin felt there was a legit chance to make the move almost need to see it a little bit earlier, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
To see what happened a couple of corners earlier, to just see the sequence of events there.
I've not seen anything from race control about it being under review at this point. But you have to imagine some questions going to hang over the BMW of Kevin Boehm, which has been so strong all day, whether it's been Kevin or Francis Seldorf behind the wheel. As it stands, it would be a victory and their first of the season in the silver class. I'll tell you what, though, Kenton Cook, from being under pressure, as we've talked about, totally set free here. And now, with 6 minutes to go, it would take a lot to overcome that. There is the message I've been waiting for. That incident is officially under review.
Yeah, and if you looked at the pace of that car that's leading right now, the 94 car, mid part of this race, you'd say that they were going to have to pull a rabbit out of their hat to get victory here today, and it looks like they may have done that, courtesy of their old teammate Kevin Boehm opening up the door there.
Now, don't forget, it's not over yet, and maybe you already covered this, Cal. I'm sorry, I had a couple voices in my head, but
penalty.
the 3 seconds, exactly.
Yeah, so Kevin Boehm right now is, what, 2.2 seconds ahead of Pumpelly, so Pumpelly needs to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
Just keep pushing hard.
It's not done yet. That is for sure. On the road, Kevin Boehm leads, but that car copped a penalty for exceeding track limits one too many times. 3 seconds added to their total race time. So if Spencer Pumpelly can stay within that margin, the win could yet be RS1's. And then, of course, there's the review of the incident that could have a part to play in the outcome as well. Meanwhile, Tyler Gonzalez, who has that wounded car like we talked about. James Clay is just behind. And the man who, when we saw him last, was covered in bags of ice, Josh Green, sitting 11th overall, giving that car a pretty decent run all told for
Yeah, and that's for
random
third in
handles.
class.
It
If they
is.
can get around Clay, or if they can both get around Gonzalez, that would move Josh Green up to P3 in silver. That'd be a huge day for them.
Michael Jordan had his flu game. This could be Josh Green's flu race. Running a temperature, did not feel well at all. Had to get checked by the medical staff after his first stint. Amanda interviewed him with bags of ice all over him like a blanket. But he said, I'm ready to go. Give me the chance to take this thing to the checkered flag. The yellow brought them back into the mix. But now, he needs to make 2 passes in order to get a podium. This is bad news for RS1 in terms of capitalizing on the 3-second penalty and still getting the win. Something seems to be wrong for Spencer Pumpelly. That car is slipping back quickly.
He is, and right now on this pace, he's going to be beyond that 3-second margin that he needs to keep it within. So last time across a stripe there, he was actually, 4.5 seconds back, so that would give Kevin Boehm the win, despite the 3-second penalty right now, but we're still awaiting to see what the decision is in terms of that contact. Can they get that done early enough in this race? The problem is if it's done post-race and it was a drive-through potentially, that's going to be a 41-second addition to his race time, which would plummet him down the order and really hurt them in the points chase.
Well, I think it's almost certainly going to end up being assessed after the fact, unless it comes in on this lap and they serve it right away, because there's just not enough time for that penalty to come in, and you know, they only get the one chance to get to the pits and try to serve it. Time's running out really quickly.
You can't serve it on the last lap, so.
Okay. Yeah, good point. And we should be seeing the white flag, not at the completion of this lap, but the following one. No word on that incident. Ryan Eversley's been given a warning for track limits. Guess smoke them if you got them.
Yeah.
Might as well use them up.
Absolutely. I'm surprised there's not a catalog of drivers using them up here in the last couple of laps.
He's had...
Like push to pass and leaving it in your pocket.
Exactly. Don't get to carry it over to the next race. Eversley and Foreman, though, I think they'll be really happy with this. This is the longest race Carl has ever done in the real world, not counting all of the successes he's had in Gran Turismo and in iRacing. But he was super excited about the challenge and did a really good job setting the table for Eversley. Right now, 8th overall and just outside of the top 5 in class.
So Kevin Bohm, nervous time. He knows this was contact. Was it legit? Was the door open? Did Pumpelly close it a little bit? Got it really late there with that replay, obviously. But there was definitely a hard hit there, and there was a change of position. So the stewards are definitely going to dig into that one big time.
Well, Kenton Cook looked like he was seeing a potential win slip away as he was dropping back, certainly into the clutches of some of his closest pursuers, but the contretemps at the top of, or at the S side, I should say, left him in a perfect spot to capitalize. He swept through the chaos to the lead of the race and has been able to control matters ever since. He's got Kevin Bohm just behind, seeking his first win in the silver class in this new season, in this new home with Auto Technic, but he has a potential penalty hanging over him, and that will not be resolved until after the race, Cal. There's the official word. Incident involving Kevin Bohm and Spencer Pumpelly will be reviewed post-race. Meanwhile, battle on here as Josh Green has found a way, or has he, past the M-Class leader, James Clay.
Well, Clay needs to give it up. There's no point in risking this M-Class lead right now with two guys duking it out for a silver class position right now. He's got pretty healthy gap of about 6 seconds back to Girazzi, so hopefully his team have told him that there's no need to get involved in this fight, James. Just keep it clean and bring it home.
And maybe help out the fellow BMW team as well in
Gonzalez
the process.
Is vulnerable here.
Totally.
Seems to be the word of the day, but certainly Josh Green is up on the wheel here and has a chance to grab that final podium spot here with 1 lap to go.
White flag flies at Circuit of the Americas. Final step of the podium still up for grabs. Boy, that car does not look healthy underneath. Tyler Gonzalez
looks like
here.
It's crabbing.
Yeah,
looks like it's crabbing up the straightaway though. Something's going wrong, even more so.
Well, we knew there was some suspension damage of some description. The team wasn't exactly sure what Weston Workman and Tyler Gonzalez were dealing with, and if Tyler can hang on to this, I don't think there's any chance. Here comes the BMW now to the inside and will take the final step of the podium away.
It's like a drifting machine right now. I think something's gone amiss with the suspension and let go a little bit further. Maybe a pickup point is letting go on the chassis or something, but he's got a handful.
So Green, who's been fighting through problems of his own of the fever variety, able to get that car up on the podium with less than a lap to go. Good news for Gonzalez is he's got a pretty healthy advantage in the fight for 4th and 5th over Erica Hoffman, so he should be able to hang on as long as the car can hang on for just over a mile. Meanwhile, front of the field, the Lone Star Enduro, only endurance race of the season in Pirelli GT4 America. It's thrown a few curveballs at the team in terms of regulations, having to do live pit stops. Then the race itself has had its ups and downs. Right now, it's a pair of BMWs leading the way. Kenton Cook, the leader in Pro-Am. Kevin Bohm, the leader in silver, nose to tail. Matthias Lace trying to keep the Bimmers honest, but just doesn't have the answer here late in the going.
You'd have to wonder if they're just going to look for some in-car footage from the steward's room to make a determination on that contact between Kevin and Spencer. A couple of corners to go, Ryan.
Here they come through turn 19. And at least on the track, it will be a BMW 1-2 overall. BMW victory in silver to Kenton Cook. He crosses the line first. Kevin Bohm hangs on in silver. Kenton Cook in Pro-Am. Matthias Lace jumps to 2nd overall with the 3-second time penalty to Bohm, but that car still being reviewed for an incident about 10 minutes ago. Victory, though, at Coda to Cook and Bohm as it stands. And now, can it be another BMW to victory lane in the M-Class? Yes, it can. James Clay with another win in the Lone Star Enduro. Outstanding performance for them, overcoming the penalty earlier in the race. And how about the effort from Tyler Gonzalez to somehow limp that Indava Supra to the checkered flag? That car has not been pointing straight for a few minutes now.
Yeah, you could see it on that final run when he came under attack there, coming up, climbing the hill. I was like, that doesn't look straight.
What about the start to the season for Kenton Cook and his new teammate, Sam Craven? difficult race one, admittedly, at Sonoma, but they've bounced back by rattling off 2 consecutive wins. They came in with a 12-point deficit, but that's going to look a lot different after scoring 50 points in a double-point weekend here at COTA.
Yeah, this can be a game changer in that championship chase. Talked about it at the start of the show, just how important this weekend is. Similar
For Francis Seldorf and Kevin Boehm, runner-up in both races at Sonoma. As it stands, a victory on the track, but again, an incident late in the running when Kevin took a late lunge trying to get around Spencer Pumpelly for the lead of the race. The two made contact, which had major implications for the rest of the field. Mark Miller was taken out of contention there. Pumpelly fell to 5th overall. A few other cars picked up some damage in the melee. So we'll have to see if it holds. But as it stands, it would be the first win on the year for Seldorf and Boehm and be a big boon in their championship. They too trailed 14 points coming into the weekend. But the result of this review could have major implications, not just here, but all season long, depending on how far they fall if a penalty is handed out. Well, chance to finally catch our breaths for the first time since the start of this race over 3 hours ago. Here are the provisional race results. Craven and Cook by a couple of seconds on adjusted time over Travis and Laced. Another good outing for the NOLA Sport team. Boehm and Seldorf on the road at least. The winners in silver, Yardley and Hott for ACI. Then it's Luca Mars and Spencer Pumpelly, currently second in silver, but again, pending that investigation. How did this happen? Greg Leafouche and Jonathan Parachon, they got back to 6th overall. They made 3 pit stops in the first hour and somehow seemingly clawed their way back despite electrical gremlins early in the going.
That's amazing.
Is that right?
Just shows you that if you keep digging, yeah, 2 extra stops on top of the rest of the field.
Wow, what a recovery. Michael Petromalo, Tyler McQuarrie in 7th, Eversley and Foreman in 8th, then Josh Green fighting through illness, he and Bruno Colombo, a strong podium result in the silver class, 9th overall, just ahead of James Walker Jr., the Texan. This will be special for him and all of his friends and family here this weekend, and James Clay putting Sonoma firmly in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, big party tonight for James Walker Jr. Congrats, mate, really cool.
Gonzalez tried his best, but that was a wounded race car. Could do no better than 4th today. Maybe the ultimate perseverance story of the day, though. Kelly Moss, a car that didn't even belong to them when the day started. Riley Dickinson didn't know he would be in this race, but got the call up after Jack Perriot's crash in qualifying. Teams up with Erica Hoffman. He came from 28th to 11th in the opening stint, and they get a top 12 overall result.
Really strong run for Lonnie Unser and Ashley Freiberg. They had that penalty late that dropped them down a little bit, but they were going to be a fierce battle there, I think, with the other Kelly Moss car of Erica Hoffman there for that P4 position.
Similarly, you got to feel bad for the Dome team with Mark Miller and Alan Patton. They were very much in the running for at least a podium result, maybe a win. Instead, they were caught up in an incident not at all they're making and fall down to 20th overall.
Yeah, I didn't really get a good assessment of where that major damage came from, whether it was a piece of debris or whether he just charged up on a race car that was kind of lost its pace momentarily.
But at the end of 3 hours of racing, those are the provisional results, and from here, championship turns its attention to Sebring, Florida. That's where we head next in just a few weeks' time. Not much time to savor this one if it was a good one, and if it was a bad weekend, the good news is you turn the calendar pretty quick.
I think the only thing similar is the humidity between the two venues.
That is true. It will be an immense challenge, but split across 2 one-hour races as is customary. Woo! There's Kevin Boehm, smile under the helmet. We'll see if this one sticks or not. Incident under review, as we've talked about, that will be dealt with post-race, but for the moment at least, Kevin will be able to celebrate. No questions about this one. Kitten Cook, Sam Craven, and Random Vandals exercising some demons, it's safe to say. This event has not been kind to them over the past 2 years.
Yeah, no, just great performances there when all the chips are on the table. You see who's going to be brave and make it happen. But Kevin Boehm, I loved his aggressive nature here today. I loved how he went on the attack with Spencer early in that stint, and then he saw an opportunity, he went for it. We'll wait for the outcome, but either way, I like the way he's driving now. He's just driving with a little bit more edge, and that's going to pay dividends over the long haul.
Need to see his old team, the Random Vandals guys, coming over to congratulate him as well. You still have to kind of recalibrate the brain a little bit to remember he's with Auto Technic here this year, but there's Paul Sparta, former boss there, Random Vandals boss. He'll have plenty to celebrate, but there to congratulate his former driver, Kevin Boehm, out of the car. Really interested to hear his perspective of that incident when we get there with Amanda. And there's Chris Wilson with the cowboy hat on. Man, he was outstanding. Unfortunately, don't get the win to show for it. Really poor timing of a yellow, but c'est la vie. Let's go down to victory lane now with Amanda.
Oh, the excitement is just getting started down here. And Sam, I want to start with you. Obviously, the race that you had as well, but just your reaction when you saw Kenton just take
I was just yelling at TV. I was like, yeah! I mean, God dang. I feel like all of our stints, we had to hustle and earn this. Past cars, nothing was easy. Getting the yellow. I mean, and the move that you made there at the end on Laced.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Beautiful.
Kenton, that move, I'm sure you saw what was happening ahead of you. Your former teammate almost opened up the door for you. What are you going to say to him?
Oh, man, that is too cool to be able to cross the line with Kevin there. So having won the championship with him last year and so many good times with him, it was a pleasure. And yeah, to share a win here like that Sam and I both earned, that was a race. So I don't think we quite had the pace today. But, man, we had some luck on our side, and we made it count when we needed.
Well done, guys.
So thank you.
Well, well-deserved for them. That was hard fought, to say the least. Doesn't look like Sam can totally believe what just transpired. Well, we've been wondering what the points would look like after this race. Kenton and Sam now with a healthy advantage. I take that back, just a 2-point advantage over Mateus Laced and Matt Travis. Really nice championship battle there. Tamir Hot, Ryan Yardley on 48 points. Not too terribly far back. That recovery from Leofouche and Parashon has them in the conversation too, with 43 points ahead of Petromalo and Macquarie. And then Foreman and Eversley, again, solid day for them, sitting 6th in the championship in Carl's first year in Pirelli GT4 America.
Kevin, we talked to you and Francis at the top of the show, and we talked about how competitive this class was going to be this season, and how that 68 or the Rafa team was probably going to be the biggest competitor. With their issues today, you guys were able to capitalize on it, but the finish is under review. Your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, we knew the race was going to be tough, and yeah, the 68 car was really strong today. The 28 car had a lot of pace as well, and it was clear, like, we had a little bit better car the longer the run was, and yeah, it was losing its tires a little, and the doors started to open in 8, and I had a big enough run that I was sure that he knew that I was going to go for that, and when he went out wide, I thought he was giving me the space, so I don't like to grab a place like that, but I think it was hard racing, and Matt, a lot of respect for Spencer, so yeah, I really just all the thanks goes out to the team today. Auto Technic really prepared just an amazing BMW. We were out front all day. We made no mistakes. What an incredible team. It was fun to be behind this guy out on track. But yeah, I mean, to be with this team, this is our 3rd race together. We've been on the podium perfect so far. To grab the first win on the 3rd try feels really good. So thanks to the whole team. Francis, get in here. What a drive by this guy.
Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting here, but Kevin drove like a champ, so I'm sure he's out of breath. So we'll see. I mean, you don't want to celebrate too early, but I think we drove, the team executed flawlessly today. We were up front the whole race, never really got back out of it, and Kevin made it happen at the end, so we'll see what they say. But
nice job, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see what race control elects to do with that incident, but that was the perspective from at least one side of it. And if it holds, Seldorf and Boehm would have a 12-point advantage over Gonzalez and Workman leaving Coda. Mars and Pompelli left ruining the situation, wondering what might have been. End up with 63 points, now 23 points behind the championship leaders.
And I think if they do get a penalty in terms of a drive-through post-race, going to drop them down to 5th. But again, we'll have to wait and see what the stewards have to say about that moment in the race.
Well, that is up to the stewards at this point, and we'll await their ruling. In the meantime, a chance to hear from the AM class winners.
You guys might agree with this, but I think that the parity within the AM class might be the strongest in the series this season, and now you guys just put yourself firmly back in it after quite a disastrous Sonoma. I think you said to me, I don't even know why we come to this place, but I think we know why you come here.
Yeah, for sure. We're good here, but unfortunately, we were really good in Sonoma this year. We had fast cars. We were both driving well. James got caught up in an incident. James Clay made his own incident. And yeah, it's like, why do we do that? It's just a luck thing. But we've got a great car this season, and we showed it here. And finally, because double points, that matters a lot. And man, redemption. It's too early in the season to say that, but I think we're on a good path right now.
James, I was reading the email on the way in where it was like, what's next? Not Sonoma. With the points leader out early, how much motivation was that?
For me, the motivation is to get this team a championship this year. It doesn't matter who's where. It's our race. It's under our control. So what happens to other cars on track, that's nice to know. That's good data. But we have to do our thing. And we're not the fastest. We're not the most glamorous. But you know what? This team just gets it done. And that's all the motivation I need.
I can't wait for the next email.
Thank you so much.
Big win for them, as they alluded to. Gets them right back in the hunt after a miserable weekend at Sonoma. Let's take a look and see just where they are now. It's still Judson Holt and Denny Stripling, despite a quiet weekend here at Coda, but only by 6 points now. And then Frankie Muniz and Tyler Stone right there in third in points after 3 races. The next 2 races come your way May 8th through the 10th at Sebring International Raceway. We hope to see you in Central Florida.